Welcome to Midwest Paranormal Presents Paranormal Soup. I'm your host, Jason Bland, and tonight Mercury is in full frickin' retrograde. It's not technical problems it's causing or computer problems, and knock on wood. You could always add that to the list of problems. No, I've had one of those days where everything's gone sideways, and now, in the last hour or so, my 5-year-old has come down with a 102-degree temperature. So anybody just starting now, and I will repeat this message as we go into the show, as far as we can go into it, that I might be leaving at any point in this show. My wife's up in bed with him. She has to be up at 4 a.m., but she's like, I'm not going to sleep anyways, just do the show. It's going to be hard for me to do the show. I know nobody is a parent. I'm a worrywart. My mom knows that. I get it from her. Hi, Mom. So don't worry, Mom. We're keeping an eye on them. So between commercial breaks, I'm going to be doing temperature checks. So I could be ending the show at any time. Just so you guys know, I apologize. This all came down the last hour. He was fine all day, and he stubbed his toe, so we don't know if that has anything to do with it. He had no symptoms of anything, but when I came home, I have a sixth sense. I don't know any other parents have this. I have a sixth sense predicting my kids coming down sick with a fever before that happens. I don't know. It's something in their skin color, something I see. I just have an instinct. I kept asking, are you all right? Do you feel all right? And, of course, right before the show. Right before the show. All right, well, enough of me telling you about our guest tonight should be Siobhan Smith if we make it that far, but she's planned to join us the second half of the show because she's in it all the way across the pond in England. So it's really early for her. So I told her, we'll just do the last hour. You can come on, be a guest. She's a medium, not doing readings tonight. If we make to have her on, we're going to get to learn about Siobhan Smith and her abilities. Just not going to do readings if we do that later. But what we're going to do before then, first half, if we're able to, is extended World Wide Web of Weird. Of course, we'll do our first half World Wide Web of Weird. And then some extra articles when we come back from commercial break, if we come back. And open lines and Q&A with you guys, which we don't get to do enough. So I figured we'd do that for the first half of the show before we have our guest, Siobhan Smith, medium, on, if we make it that far in. We'll see. My wife's on constant text with me here right now, so I know what's going on. All right, Mercury in retrograde. We're going to see if we can pull this off. But let's go ahead and get rolling into it. Welcome to another night of Paranormal Soup, Mercury in retrograde special. I don't know. Literally the day I had to work before all this was crazy. Just crazy. And then, and yesterday too. And then, like I said, as soon as I walked home, I just felt something was not right with my 5-year-old Liam. No symptoms, just out of nowhere. We'll see if we can make it. We're repeating for anybody just joining us now. We're going to try to make a full show tonight. Our guest joins us, Siobhan Smith, medium, second half of the show. But I might cancel at any point. I might have to shut down the show because I have a 5-year-old that is not feeling well, that has a fever of 102. We're keeping an eye on it. Between commercial breaks, I'll be checking it. My wife's not going to sleep. She has to be up at like 4 a.m. And she's like, I'm not going to sleep anyway, so she's checking him, but I will be checking him. And if I have to feel like he's getting worse, I am going to shut the show down. Might have to make an emergency room trip. Just so you guys know, my beautiful, awesome wife is like, do the show. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. I'm kind of glad I don't have a guest on until the second half. I don't think I can focus on interview. Tonight, you guys will help me through this, and we'll chat in the Q&A, and we'll open up the phone lines and join the conversation. There was something I wanted to get into tonight. I don't think I can manage it tonight. My brain's not there to do it. So I have some extra articles for World Wide Web Weird, and I get to converse with you guys tonight. All right. So joining me as always, and good friend and lovely co-host is Jamie D. How you doing tonight, Jamie?
Doing well, thank you.
She's already been WebMDing this for me. All the possible things. We're both worry words at heart. And then there's Rob Autry himself from St. Augustine, Florida. Thank you for joining me. Another really good friend. Glad to have you here.
Man.
And like I said, at some point, even at a commercial break, if you hear the audio stop, but the rolls coming, I haven't come back, it's because I'm taking the temperature. I'll just let it go silent. So I will come back and update. So if we go to commercial break and I'm still rolling and there's no audio, just hang in there. I'm checking on a 5-year-old. So, but like I said, right, we do have a lot of weird to get to, extra weird to get to for the second part of the World Wide Web of Weird. So let's go ahead and roll into the World Wide Web of Weird. Tonight on the World Wide Web of Weird, I thought I'd start out with this really interesting article. We were just talking about Jane Goodall with Bigfoot researcher Todd Neese a few weeks ago. We had as a guest, and about her interest in Bigfoot. And lo and behold, on Unexplained Mysteries and a couple other places, have Jane Goodall will not rule out the existence of Bigfoot. If you don't know who she is, she's a primate expert that's been one of the top in her field. Believes in the possibility of Bigfoot. For those listening on the Paranormal Soup Radio Network, we are a webcast. We're streaming out live to Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, but I will narrate as best as possible. Not too good tonight. I'm telling you, my mind is elsewhere. Again, warning to all, this show could end at any time because I have a 5-year-old upstairs with 102 temp that we're keeping a very close eye on. And if I have to end it because he's got to go to the hospital, I'll come back on and let you guys know, and that'll be it, just so you know. And I'll remind people, because I know people join in later at times. But yes, first off, Jane Goodall won't rule out the existence of Bigfoot. The 87-year-old who first studied chimps at the Gome Stream National Park in Tanzania all the way back in 1960 has spent 6 decades of her life attempting to learn more about them. When it comes to Bigfoot, therefore, there are few people who are qualified to comment on the possibility that they're mysterious, undiscovered species of primate roaming the forests of North America. It's certainly interesting to note that then she has publicly stated on multiple occasions that she does not rule out the possible existence of such a creature. During a recent interview with GQ magazine, she also recalled an experience of her own that seemed to further reinforce a possibility in her mind. It happened during a trip to Ecuador and occurred following a flight to a small village in an area of the rainforest so vast that it took hours of solid flying over nothing but trees to reach a settlement. Once there, she recalled speaking to a town crier, someone who travels from one village to another with news. There were no roads or telephones or any other way to communicate over the distance. Through an interpreter, she requested that he ask the village hunters if they had ever seen a monkey without a tail during their travels in the deep forests. Incredibly, 3 hunters later got back to her to claim that they had indeed seen such a thing. They walk upright and they are about 6 foot tall, they told her. What makes this so interesting, Goodall argues, is that the 3 men had no idea about the modern Bigfoot phenomenon. They were simply recalling something they had experienced firsthand. They were out literally in the untouchable areas, where there's no internet, for one. There's no real civilization. These are, almost still, primitive people. That she's, one of the top researchers here, believes it's possible for these things to still be out there in hiding. So I think that says a lot about the existence of Bigfoot. Even Jane Goodall believes in that possibility. I mean, she's not seen one, not had one, but there's a period of time where even the gorillas were believed to be a myth before zoologists got in there and actually were able to eventually find them. So, I think this is pretty big news for the Bigfoot realm, cryptozoology. All right, let's move on because I am running behind here. I've been running behind all day. Mercury in retrograde, people. All right, I thought this is interesting on the true crime area of stories. French cop leaves suicide note unmasking himself as a notorious, and I'm not sure if I get this right, Grille serial killer, Grele, in France, I believe France. 59-year-old former French police officer, yes, has unmasked himself as a notorious serial killer in a suicide note written just before he overdosed on pills Wednesday, according to a local media report. The Le Parisien reports that the man identified only as Franciscos V, had been called for questioning in connection with a case the killer dubbed Grille for his pockmarked face. His body was said to have been discovered Wednesday at a seaside resort near Montpellier. He had reportedly been due to provide his DNA to police. Yeah, that's obviously when he knew the gig was up. But he never showed. Now a postmortem DNA test proves that his most wanted killer was a law enforcement officer all along. He was responsible for a string of rapes and killings in Paris in the 1980s and 1990s, including the murder of an 11-year-old girl, Cecile Bloch, and a 38-year-old Grille Politi, and his 28-year-old Imogen Mueller. I know some of this doesn't translate for me, both of whom were savagely tortured. The murder of a 19-year-old woman named Corinne Leroy has also been attributed to the pockmarked killer. The serial killer terrorized Paris for years and was also accused in 6 different rapes. The crimes were shocking and brutal. Bloch was snatched up as she left her apartment building for school in May 1986. She was later found dead in a basement of the building, half naked and covered by an old carpet. She had been raped, strangled, and stabbed in the chest. During the subsequent police investigation, residents of the building recalled seeing a man in an elevator with a pockmarked skin. He seemed very sure of himself. He spoke to me in a very bold, very polite way, too. He said something to me like, "Have a very, very good day," Cecil's older half-brother, Lou Richard, was quoted saying in the Sud Aus newspaper. Genetic testing conducted a decade after Cecil's murder revealed that the killer had gone on to commit series of rapes and 3 separate attacks on 26-year-old German women, a 14-year-old girl, an 11-year-old girl, and he had identified himself as a policeman on multiple occasions, a clue which investigators at the time thought was a ploy he used to gain control of his victims. But it seems law enforcement details also was finally led to investigate Franciscos V. He reportedly wound up on police radar after they uncovered evidence that the girl was a member of the security forces who had been driving a white car. In his suicide note, according to sources, the Le Parisien sourced, the retired officer said he was not well in life at the time of the killings. Well, he may burn in hell. I know we're supposed to forgive and forget and all this stuff, but if it wasn't for them catching on to you, you would have gone to the grave not knowing.
Eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. Bring it back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks when, cops get a bad enough rap as it is in today's world, and then you have...
No, this is what cops, priesthood, it attracts certain kinds of personalities.
Yeah.
Really, people who do want to devote their life to service and ultimately are good people.
Yeah.
But it also attracts those who want power over other people, either over their minds, as in priesthood, or over their physical bodies and life in itself, law enforcement. Yep. I was in law enforcement. I met all kinds of personalities, and I'll tell you, they're all in there.
Yep.
Good and bad. And, it's just, it's an attract, there's so many cases in profiling of so many serial killers who tried to become law enforcement officers, who drove cars that look like law enforcement cars. Now I say that I drive an Impala, but I'm just saying they mimic the law enforcement lifestyle sometimes. It's about power. That's what, and rape is about power. It's not about sex. What serial rapists, it's about control and power. And it's the same for a serial killer. It's just they just go right to the killing.
Yeah. Just sucks to be in that position and abuse that position and power,
Yeah, it looks bad for the other. Think about the police officers who work with them.
Yeah.
The law enforcement didn't know. How could you? Police officer. I tell you, I when I was a very short time I was a police officer. We sat down and watched this video where they played this like cheesy '70s music. I don't know what it was. I don't know like what kind of '70s music this was. It was like really cheesy, like not disco. Okay, it was like really cheesy. I don't remember what it was, but they were showing all these suicide scenes and all the rookies and the cops that were in the room were laughing. I was the only one not laughing, and that's when I got kind of cited out by one of the cops there. Because I think he's like, he doesn't belong here. Because, yeah, I'm not going to laugh at suicide. Yeah. There's nothing. I don't care what kind of music you play or what you do to it. It's death. And, there's loved ones who miss these people. And that's sick. And that's when I started thinking, I don't know if I really want to be a police officer. I'm not saying cops are that way. But I think they try to desensitize you sometimes. The person who was responsible for that video did get fired eventually. So I will say that. Anyways, let's move on before we get out. Speaking of potential serial killers, now a former haunted house performer in Ohio in a haunted house stabbed a child. This is a knife. I got the article from Tim Binnell from Coast to Coast here. A now former haunted house performer in Ohio is both out of a job and facing assault charges after he got way too carried away in character and stabbed a young boy in the foot with a knife. According to local media report, the bizarre incident occurred at the Seven Floors of Hell attraction in the city of Barrie when Karen Dinarski and her 11-year-old son Frank stopped by the establishment for some scares earlier this month. Unfortunately for them, what they thought would be a fun evening of fox frights turned into a very real nightmare when the youngster crossed paths with an actor who clearly took his craft very seriously. During their visit, Frank was approached by a performer, Christopher Pogozilski, if I say that right, who was brandishing a Bowie knife in an attempt to instill fear in the heart of the haunted house patron. However, as curious tots want to be, he's not a tot, he's about a teenager, or 11. No, he's not a teenager, but he's 11. The boy was unfazed by the encounter and dismissed the weapon as fake. In response, Pogozilski began jabbing at the ground around Frank's feet, and in the process punctured the child's crocked shoe. That's why you don't wear Pro-X. It was then that the youngster and his mom discovered that that only was the knife real, but that the performer had just stabbed the boy's toe. As one might imagine, chaos subsequently ensued, with workers in the site applying first aid to the wounded foot and police arriving on the scene to investigate the strange turn of events. Later, conceding to the police that using the knife was not a good idea, it sounded like a good idea at the time, Pogozilski insisted that the stabbing was an accident and remained with Frank throughout that entire ordeal. I believe him. I don't believe he purposely stabbed his child. I think he just made a very poor choice. For their part, the owners of the haunted house say that the decision to use a real weapon was ill-advised, a bit of improv on the part of the performer, who was supposed to be wielding a rubber prop. As such, Pogozilski was fired once the full magnitude of his method acting came to light, and authorities also charged him with negligent assault. To their credit, Frank and his mother finished their journey through the haunted house after the boy's foot had been bandaged, although the stabbing may wind up haunting the establishment further, as the Berdanski family is considering filing a lawsuit over the incident. Well, we knew that was coming, right? I would too, though. Stab my son. Lucky I wouldn't kill that clown. Yeah. All right, let's move on. I guess I don't have to worry about running out of time because we're going to continue this after the commercial break. Maybe, if I can. We'll see. This is a really depressing story, and I really don't want to read it right now because I'm so off my game right now. And this story, when I first saw it, I'm like, God, this is depressing. Michigan man found dead with winning lottery ticket in his pocket. This is from Fox News. Fake news. No, that's not fake. Police say no foul play is suspected in the death of Gregory Jarvis. The body of the 57-year-old Michigan man was found washed up on a beach in Huron County Friday morning with a winning lottery ticket tucked away in his wallet, according to a report. I see an article here. Gregory Jarvis won $45,000 while playing the Jack at the Blue Water Inn in Carisville earlier that month, according to ABC12.com. He returned to the place a few days later and was reportedly in good spirits. He bought rounds for patrons, even though he was unable to cash his ticket due to a Social Security card issue. He was not seen alive again after that. Kyle Romazek, the Cassville police chief, told the station that discovery of the lotto ticket prompted his officers to take another look at the case, but the theory is that Jarvis was tying up his boat when he somehow lost his footing and hit his head, and that's where it ended up in the water. No foul play suspected, he told the outlet. An autopsy stood up to the theory and said that he drowned, the report said. The station reported that his relatives were able to collect the winnings. You know, I try to look at the bright side of this story because I'm like, God, everybody, I mean, $45,000 isn't going to get you out of your job or anything, but when some, people are in debt, I know how that is. I mean, $45,000 can lift your spirits. Like, wow, I can pay this off, get out of debt. All I can say is, at least when he probably went out in high spirits.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's sad.
It sucks to
God.
be thinking, oh yeah, I can pay off that whatever that debt, and then
bam. And his family, that $45,000 is going to replace him or make it any better,
or pay for his funeral and burial.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. There goes the $45,000. That's like I said, not the depressing story I really wanted to read tonight, where the frame of mind I'm in. At the time, I thought it was a good idea to do this story. Now I'm like, I wish I hadn't done this one. All right, this next one's a video, and I've seen a number of videos along this frame, and I swear to God I've seen this video and might have, because it says it's from 2010, but I'm seeing it make the rounds. Birmingham Mail did an article on it, and this is one of those people who feels they're being abducted and decided to put a video camera in their room and claims to have recorded the abduction. You can get this from birminghammail.co.uk. Dorwich woman vanishes from bed in eerie footage obtained by UFO hunters. Like I said, this is from 2010. She recorded eerie footage showed by UFO hunters. Supposedly shows astonishing moments. A Midland woman vanishes from her bed before suddenly reappearing. I didn't see the reappearing part in the video, but go to the article. I had trouble with it glitching. I was only able to capture the part where she vanishes. You can watch the whole video at birminghammail.co.uk. The video is one of many cases being investigated by Dave Hodrien, Hodrien is the name, father of one from Solihull, and the lead investigator of the Birmingham UFO Group, BUFOG. He says the woman in the video from Dorwich in Worcestershire, claimed she had been abducted twice in a week in 2010. On advice of her husband, the woman put an infrared camera in her bedroom to capture evidence. The creepy footage that caught apparently shows a woman sleeping under the covers at around 3:30 a.m. before she suddenly starts arching her back, and you're going to see her disappear. Go ahead and play it. She kind of disappears like Obi-Wan in the, I don't know. I couldn't get the video footage where it says she reappears, but it was glitching on me. I've been having trouble. I need a new phone. My son has a better phone than me now after his 10th birthday the other day. Happy birthday, D. But I could not get this video to play right, and that's all I could get was her disappearing. So go watch it, see what you see what the reappearance is. I didn't get to see that. I mean, is it shenanigans, trickery? It's from 2010. I have a feeling it's not. I feel like these people could be honest. I don't know. You'd think somebody being abducted eventually would catch something on video from it, and I've seen others. I remember Fact or Fake did one. I almost thought this was from the one from Fact or Fake, and I had to go back and watch it. Isn't, but it's very similar. Maybe I'm wrong. It is the same one, but I don't think it was. But yeah, I find that interesting. And again, guys, don't know how long the show is going to go. I keep looking at my phone for a text from my wife. Just going to be checking on my son. All right, we're definitely going to be extending. I mean, I have extra articles as it is, but we're not going to make it to all 7 articles. That's how far off I am tonight. But hopefully we get to continue them after the commercial break coming up here soon. Let's see if we can fit on the next one here. Got this from Coast to Coast. What is this one? Is this the dog one? Yes. Ghost dog photographed in Arizona. An Arizona woman suspects that an eerie image captured by her home security system shows the spirit of her late dog beside her. I really like this one too. You'll see there's 2 photos, Rob. There's one a zoom, and I do too. Spooky photo, which can be seen here, posted to Reddit earlier this month by Angelina Castle, who marveled that her dog Rocky had passed away August 31st, and she thinks this is evidence that he still may be beside her. According to her, the scene occurred as she and her husband were returning for dinner and one evening, and at that time did not notice anything unusual in the driveway. However, her husband checked out the latest footage from their security camera a few days later and noticed something unusual. I love it. People get security camera. I know that people are like, why would he be checking it? I tell you, people get security cameras and never had them before. Especially guys like to sit there and watch them. I've run into this.
Oh, yeah.
You're like, really? I'd be doing it for paranormal research. I don't want to sit in front of a camera. I wouldn't. If I had a security camera, I'd probably never check unless I thought I needed to for something. In the image, a puzzling form can be seen off the side of Angelina, and the weird anomaly appears to sprout 4 legs. It does. Can you see it? I don't know if you people can see it on our resolution. Coast to Coast AM has this. Look at Ghost Dog. But you see the ears? Watch out. You're kind of missing the legs there. Can you go up a little bit with it? Yeah, because you can see the legs, the ears, like a little tail. It looks like a dog.
Yep.
She said, I started crying happy tears when I seen it, while many observers online indicated they thought the curious form might have been Angelina's late dog and shared similar stories of their pet pooches returning from spirit. More skeptical people, a-holes, suggested that the apparition was merely the product of motion blur. Let's look at that. Okay, there is a motion blur going on with his arm.
Yep.
But that's where the motion blur is just on his arm. It's not going to cause what's that by her. Unless he's holding something else out in his hand. To me, it looks like a dog.
It does.
I get why they say they think it's their dog.
I mean,
what I'd love to have is a comparison photo of the real dog, which I
Yeah.
don't have in this article. I would love to see that.
He's not holding something in his hand, like a little, so that he could be shaking too.
I don't know. That could be the
It does look
possibility.
like
He
a
could be
dog,
moving
but-
something. That's I get why skeptics say that. He could be moving something in his hand that's making that look like that. But it looks like a dog when you zoom in. You go back to zoom in of it.
Yeah, I mean, if they, if they
And
know
he's
their
got,
dog,
like-
if
You
they
see
know-
the ears is what I see right away, and then it seems like 2 legs, or 4 legs actually.
Yeah.
But that's it. We gotta go to commercial break, and I gotta go check on my son. So, all right, guys. Hopefully, I will be back just to give you an update. But hopefully, we'll be back to continue the show. I got a 65-year-old with a fever. Second half of the show later on, joining us after not this commercial break, but the next commercial break, and roughly about an hour, is guest Siobhan Smith, medium. Hopefully, all the way from across the pond, England. Hopefully, she'll be joining us. Hopefully, we can make it into the show that long. But I'm going to be reminding you guys tonight, I have a sick 5-year-old I'm going to be checking on, and if I feel I need to quit the show because we got to take him to the hospital, well, of course, I'm going to quit the show. All right, guys, we will be right back after the short commercial break, hopefully.
Join us every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time for Weird Wednesday, the live stream, with your hosts Jamie, the Living Dead Girl, and Rob, the Phantom, where we'll talk about all things paranormal, including zodiac, astrology, tarot card and oracle card readings, live ghost boxing and spirit communication, where we'll do Voices from Beyond, the Cold Case Files. So we hope you join us live on Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time. We hope to see you there. Bye-bye.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Of the second kind, physical evidence of a UFO. Close encounters of the third kind, contact. From Steven Spielberg, the director of Jaws, comes one of the most ambitious and unusual films ever made. And what you will see has never been seen before. It's a cosmic mystery crossing what many scientists believe will be the next threshold of human experience. It is called Close Encounters of the Third Kind. It begins in an Indiana town and leads to one inescapable conclusion. We are not alone. Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Certificate A, now showing at the Odeon, Leicester Square.
The international chart-topping, Haunted Horror of Haverfordwest has been described as terrifyingly real, a must-read, shocking and chilling brilliance, genuinely worrying, utterly frightening. Don't read before bed. Described as one of the spookiest writers out there, best-selling author G.L. Davies presents Haunted Horror of Haverfordwest, the true paranormal account that is shocking the world. Dare you enter? Dare you read? Haunted Horror of Haverfordwest is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, and wherever books are sold. Pray you never have to live there.
This is the sound of a space clock aboard a U.S. satellite 180 miles above the Earth. No one winds up this timepiece. It's powered by a tiny battery, a battery that delivers power for years without replacement. Now the same type of battery, the Duracell battery, can bring new reliability and long life to your battery-operated equipment. Radios, cameras, toys, all run far longer. Duracell batteries, the long-distance power cells, outlast any ordinary battery. The same type of battery that keeps space clocks running for years can bring long life to anything powered by batteries. Dura, as in durable. Cell, as in power cell. The Duracell battery, made by Mallory.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from Talkstream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Switch to DCS ranging.
240, nominal to profile.
We're in the pipe, 5 by 5.
Tonight on Paranormal Soup, it's Mercury in retrograde special. I have just checked on our sun. Luckily, temperature's gone down 1 degree after having ibuprofen, children's ibuprofen, so hopefully that's good. And a correction from my wife, who definitely... You know me, I'm the king of butchering names. It was Francois for the serial killer. That makes much more sense. Francois, whatever the butchered name I was putting him was. Yeah. My wife usually wanted to be up to make that correction because she has to be up really early in the morning. But of course, she's up right now with a sick 5-year-old. And just to you guys just joining us now, just know I'm going to try to make it for the full show. Our guest tonight, Siobhan Smith, has already been planned to join us for the second half of the show after the next commercial break. She's a medium. Hopefully we'll be able to have her on, but I might have to cancel the show at any point if he takes a turn for the worse. But right now, good news is his temperature's gone down 1 degree. I will take it. I'll take it to make me feel a little bit better. And the only reason she knew is he woke up from a nightmare, poor little guy. And I get real bad nightmares when I have a fever. But tonight, before our guest, if we make it that far, Siobhan Smith, we are doing open lines and Q&A. That Q&A with you guys in the chat room. But the phone lines are open, and we have more stories for the World Wide Web of Weird tonight, extra World Wide Web of Weird. And we're just going to hang out. I kind of need to do that tonight. This kind of worked out perfect in the sense that, I'm a worrywart. And so I would be a really bad interviewer. Hopefully it's all much better by the time we get Saban on, because I don't do good on interviews when my brain is elsewhere. And I'm one of those worrywart parents, so forgive me. But we got a lot to get to, so let's go ahead and get rolling in on it. I can't even say my saying right. All right, phone lines are open. If you want to call in, join the conversation. I see a lot of people think the ghost dog is the guy moving something in his hand, which I could see that. Let's take a look at that again here. Yeah, I mean, it really could be him moving something in his hands. I mean, I get that. But, man, when you zoom in, it does look kind of like a dog.
But it also, you know those little tiny hand brooms that you use in the garage and stuff?
Yeah.
Those little, it kind of, to me, looks like shaking that real fast.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, I definitely see what skeptics are saying, even though it called them a-holes. Because I'd like to think it's their dog. Because I mean, I feel my first real pet was Patches, the cat, and when she passed on, I know I've told this story, but I saw her spirit. I saw it in the darkness, but I could hear her, see her outline, hear her purr, and it's a special gift when your animals come to you that way. I mean, we've had that with Bella and Asia after they passed this last year. We've heard the sounds of Asia snorting, and I swear I thought I'd seen Bella like out of the corner of my eye once. You know, it hurts your heart, but it warms your heart to know they're there with you. We already got a caller. One of my favorite callers is Zach. How you doing tonight, Zach?
I'm doing pretty good, brother. Just taking it easy this Sunday.
Trying to. I was trying to take it easy.
Oh man, I'm sending your family healing energy, brother.
Yeah. I'm supposed to do tomorrow. Now I just remembered this. I'm supposed to do. Remember we had Master Shaw. He's supposed to still do his healing thing on me, and they're supposed to send me a Zoom link call on tomorrow. And I was like, planning on doing it when no kids were home. Well, now both kids are going to be home because I'm not going to send either one to school tomorrow. Dean's fine, but I can't really send him when the other one is sick.
Yeah. It was really interesting last time when you had him on, is that he did the COVID healing for me and all that.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was him that did it or if it was the ivermectin that did it or whatever it might be. But, hey, I cleared up within a matter of days. So
nice. Yeah, I couldn't tell you which one it was.
Neither could I.
But I don't care. Whatever works. As long as you're better, buddy. I'm glad to hear you're better because it's going around.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, my brother has it now too. So
yeah, I deal with it with people I work with, and yeah, very real. I was going to talk about it. I will just mention right now. Doesn't anybody knows where I stand? Mandates are tyranny. That's all I'll have to say. Mandates are tyranny, and if you think anything otherwise, you're welcome not to subscribe to my show or follow me or be my friend on Facebook if that hurts your butt that much. But mandates are tyranny, and I know you agree with me on that, Zach.
Absolutely, man. I actually had a conversation with with one of my family members about that today.
Yeah. If you think that you think otherwise, then you believe in authoritarianism, medical authoritarianism for sure. Anyways, what do you want to join the discussion with, man, tonight? What do you want to talk about?
Whatever you want to talk about, man.
Well, I had stuff on my mind but to talk about, and my brain is not working on it right now because I keep thinking about Liam. That's why it's like, Susan, are you sure you want me to do the show? She's like, I'm gonna be up anyways. Just do the show. And I don't like to do that to a guest I know is gonna wake up at 4 a.m, whatever, to get on the show or something like that and find out, it's canceled. Sorry for waking you up. So I hope to make it to Saban in the next hour across the pond. But yeah, I am interested though. You did say after Master Shaw's healing, you felt better. You had ivermectin too, which, Rob, you took, helped you. Yep. Here goes YouTube's monetization. But,
right here too.
They might straight just take you down for it.
Right. All right. No more work. No more talk. Of course, we don't live in a free world or free speech anymore.
Obviously.
Yeah, right. Obviously. But, like I said, mandates are tyranny. I was going to get into a whole thing of that. I can't do it tonight. Maybe we'll talk about it another night. But yeah, that's where I stand. I do have this next article if you want to join us on this. I know you don't have any kids, but there's this. I saw this TikTok the video. I could barely watch the TikTok. I had trouble watching videos on my phone, and I had Jamie look this up for me and research it on TikTok for me. That what was it you found about this mom we're going to talk about?
Well, she seems pretty legit. She may be in the military, and I don't feel she was doing this for views.
Me neither.
She just kind of had it pinned up because there was an article written about it, but everything else in her timeline is just regular mom stuff. Yeah.
Right. So, I don't know. Do you think I should read the article first, or we should just play the it's like 15 seconds long clip of what she was basically, she has her son. Let's just pull up the article.
Yeah.
Let's just pull it up because I know people are not good. People will hear it on the radio, but they can't see her reaction to this. I wish if you're listening on the radio, you could see her reaction to this. Little boy, this is from The Mirror, which is the worst website on my phone to try to read off of because it glitches all to hell. Little boy terrifies mom with chilling story about being run over in a past life. And me, Zach, me and you have talked about our past life experiences and dreams. So we're two believers in past lives. And I've had my experience with Liam right now that's sick, with him telling he chose us. He's given little hints about maybe when he was a little bit younger, remembering a past life. And we've had some weird conversations. Well, this mom, Anna from Texas, was not okay after her little boy began telling her about being hit by a car in his past life. She captured the moment and later shared it on TikTok, where she quickly went viral. And there goes my article. Oh, there we go. Mom was left creeped out after a chilling conversation with her son about his past life. Anna Banana her name's Anna Banana. What awful parents of hers to name her Anna Banana. Anna Banana from
it's her handle.
It's her handle. Okay, if that's her real name, I see. Obviously, I don't use TikTok at all. Anna Banana from Texas was sitting in the car with her son when he started talking about being reincarnated. Creeped out, she grabbed her camera to video the moment, which she later shared on her TikTok account. You can tell it's in the middle of the conversation. She starts recording this. In an on-screen text, Anna explains, "My son talked for 10 minutes about he got hit by a car when he was a baby before he was my baby." When the clip begins, the little boy who is in the back seat of the car is midway through his story, whereby he recalls being a baby again. All right, go ahead and play it. I don't know if you've seen this, Zach.
Nope, I haven't seen it, man.
All right, well, you'll hear it here.
I did that.
You were a baby again?
Mm-hmm. And I did that again.
So you got ran over in a past life?
Mm-hmm.
I'm still not okay with it. Play it one more time. Let's listen to the little kid.
Again, and I did that.
You were a baby again?
Mm-hmm. And I did that again.
So you got ran over in a past life?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
We'll give you some.
Chris, like Bill Cosby, kids say the darndest things. They say the creepiest things sometimes, buddy. I'll never forget when Dean was like looking out my window. I got the Sixth Sense moment. He's like, "There's somebody laying on the ground leaking." Like looking around.
Wow.
But yeah, Zach, what do you think about that one?
Honestly, man, just hearing the audio alone is just really creeps me out. The fact that a 5-year-old was it that they said they were run over by a car. I don't have any children myself on this one, but if one of my kids, one of my future kids, ever came up and they said, "Daddy, in my past life I was, struck by lightning or something like that," I'd be like, "Oh."
It doesn't say how.
Really
I don't see where it says how old the kid is. It just says her little boy. I was looking again to see what the age was. Jamie, did you catch that? I'm not seeing in the article how old the kid was. I think he's younger than 5. It sounds younger than 5, actually. It sounds more like 3 or 4. And that is that age. I swear, that is that age when they say stuff like that.
Yeah.
It was that way for Dean. It was that way for Liam. And then they hit about 4, and it fades.
I think, I think kids at that age are more susceptible to seeing things and feeling things. They're open to things because they haven't been taught not to,
Right. I think what screwed me up, or maybe it didn't screw me up, maybe it enlightened me, was seeing the green floating head about 4 years old. At that moment, I knew people have heard that story. Well, go watch past episodes. Go watch. Eventually, Josh Turner from Paranormal Roundtable. I talk about it quite a bit again with him. We'll have a podcast out on the Paranormal Roundtable. I recorded with him. It might be 3 parts. I don't know. We went on for a long time. He even fell asleep during it. Sorry, Josh. But I talk about the green floating head incident. I've written about it. It's in Gavin Lee Davies' Paranormal magazine, Paranormal Chronicles. I wrote about it in there. But seeing that at a kid, it just, ever since, it's scarred in my brain. I figured reality is not what these people are telling me. There are ghosts. There are things beyond our perception. So
I just, I know from talking to just tons of paranormal people, how'd you get started? Oh, well, when I was 4 or 5, and
yep.
You hear that over and over, and that's the age that you start remembering things, beyond, before 4 years old, it's pretty damn hard to remember things,
That was my age.
Yeah.
And I'm working on my phone line here that the guest is supposed to be on because that's messing up. There's my technical problems for Mercury in retrograde. Right there. My phone line not working right for the guest tonight. That's just lovely. But yeah, Zach, I know you don't have kids. What were you going to say, though?
Have I ever shared the first paranormal experience that I can remember all the way back? Have I ever shared that with you guys?
I don't know.
It happened to me. I was about 4 years old when it happened, and I remember that night my parents had gone to the hospital because my mother went into labor with my second brother, and my grandfather was babysitting us. I remembered I fell asleep on the couch, and the couch I fell asleep on, it was facing directly the fireplace that we had at the time, and I woke up in the middle of the night. And I remember seeing just all these just objects around the fireplace. I had a little toy that, it had the ball with the string attached in the cup. I had that. And for some reason, this toy was starting to move on its own. But when it moved, it made a boing noise. And I was like, what the heck? I didn't say anything at the time.
Right.
I was just scared crapless. But then I see this doll that my mother had. It was of a mother rabbit figure. Well, the doll starts moving on its own, and my brother was sleeping on another couch that was to the right of me. Starts moving over to him, and this doll, I see its arms raise up, and it pats my brother 3 times on the shoulder while he's sleeping.
Oh, geez.
This scared the crap out of me.
Yeah, I don't think you've ever told this story. No.
Yeah, and this is my one brother that does have special needs.
Yeah.
And it scared me so much to death. The next morning, I remember I was sitting at the kitchen table, staring at my bowl of Fruit Loops. I couldn't even eat because I was so shocked by what happened. And I remember my grandfather was on the phone with my dad, and he was saying, Zachary won't eat. For some reason, he won't eat.
Right.
And I never told anybody that story until, I started dating my girlfriend at the time, now my fiance. I told her that she was the first one that I ever revealed that story to. But that was my first paranormal experience, that for some reason in that house, because I lived in central Pennsylvania at the time.
Oh, well, there's a haunted state for one.
Oh, no, for this property, whatever it had on it, it was not good energy at all. And it used to be Native American land until it was taken over by, the colonists. Because where I lived at the time, it was considered backcountry whenever the United States was becoming a country in itself. And for some reason, that boing noise that night always bothered me. I can't even stand Jack in the Boxes today because I don't like the noise it makes. I remember a few years later after that, I was maybe 7 or 8. I fell asleep on the couch again, another mistake I made, out in the living room again. And I remember taking a look out, in the windows that we had about 3 or 4 windows that would look into the backyard. I remember looking up at one of the windows, and all of a sudden I heard that boing noise again. But this time, staring at me from the window was this Jack-in-the-Box face.
Oh, jeez.
Just looking right at me. That I was scared. I pulled the covers over my head, and I tried so hard to get to sleep that night. So that's what stopped me from falling asleep on the couch in the living room moving forward. Like I said, that house there had some really bad energy to it.
Bad mojo. It's Pennsylvania. I think your odds are good having a house of bad mojo. I swear. When I first started doing the show, I'd have so many people on from Pennsylvania or call in early on that had houses that are haunted or crazy stuff, going on. It was always Pennsylvania. It seemed like for a while there.
Yeah, I even back in 2017, I even took my fiance out there to show her where I lived as a kid, and we passed over by the house, and all those feelings just came back, man.
I bet.
So nuts. But anyway, I just wanted to share that with you.
Yeah, that's awesome. I don't think you have. I don't remember you ever saying that story. I don't. I mean, it's been 6 years. I could have forgotten by now, but that's how long you've been calling in almost, though. But I think that's the first time you've shared it. You always surprise me.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm having experiences all the time, man. I mean, just recently, a couple weeks ago, I remember I woke up in the middle of the night, and I remember seeing a shadow man running down the hallway into my brother's room. My brother's door was closed. This entity just went right through the door. I told my mother the next day, and the next thing you know, she's pulling out the sage and she's saying the prayers and going throughout the house. She's coming into my room and she's saying, "Why haven't you cleaned up the room yet?" And I'm like, "Aren't you gonna sage, for the shadow man in the other room? Don't you want to go in there and cleanse that?" So they happen all the time.
Well, she should have been like, "It's not feng shui. That's why you have evil spirits. Clean now." That'll get your kid to clean the room.
Yeah. Clean your room. Clean your
room.
Or
the shadow man will come back.
He comes back whether or not. So there you go.
What I always loved about their experience with Liam in the past life thing, back to that, is I've told this story before, but when I was just getting ready to move out of my parents' house to move into my first apartment with my wife, we were going to get married. I was home alone at their house, and their house is not haunted. Middle of the day, I got this really weird feeling. I would say the feeling was very similar to the love feeling I felt when I was saved from the shadow person. I believe God helped, and maybe a great-grandfather of mine. I felt that same feeling suddenly, this warmth, this just immense warmth and love. And I look up, and coming towards me was this, I would say, maybe 9-year-old boy, but it was translucent. And he smiled at me. And I wasn't scared. I just felt immense love. I was not asleep, not dreaming. It was the middle of the day, okay? And, yeah, I was doing a lot of meditating and spiritual stuff at that time, so maybe I was really open to it. But I just felt like I knew him. He knew me. Even I don't know why I was seeing this little boy. And I held on to that for years. I told my wife about it. I'm like, I don't know what that was about. But the day he was born, when they put him up to suit, and you can find this in my photos if you're a Facebook friend, you'd have to go way back in the timeline when he was born, but I took a picture of him right when they put him up to her, and he smiled, and I captured it. And that smile, I knew right then that was the little boy that I saw. That translucent little, because it was the same smile. I just know it. So when he says he chose us, it's like he came that day, right before, it was not long, it was probably a few weeks before we got married. Maybe longer, because I think it was in that apartment for like a month. It might be a month. But it was like right before I was going to literally move out of my parents' house and start a new life with my wife. And he said he chose us. And there'd be years before we actually had him. So, I mean, I don't know. I think they do. I think we do choose our parents. So if your parents are awful to you, you chose it. No. That's a hard one for people to bite, I think. Well, thank you, Zach.
Absolutely, brother. Thank you so much for allowing me to call in tonight and sharing my experiences.
Oh, I love every call every time, man. Thank you.
like I said, man, I'm sending you and your family love and healing energy, brother.
Yeah. Again, update for you people. Liam's temperature's gone down by a degree, so it's looking good. But I might end the show at any time. I will keep reminding you until we get to our guest, hopefully, that I might shut the show down if I feel I need to, if he just takes a turn for the worse. So, all right, Zach, you have a great night, buddy.
Hey, you too, man. Take it easy.
All right, bye. Phone lines are open if you want to call in. Just join the conversation, just to talk, whatever. I'm here for you. This next one was, you guys covered this, I think, on the Weird Wednesday show, right? Drunk man spends hours with search party looking for missing person. He was the missing person.
You guys looking for?
Yeah. Some might say he found himself in the woods. Bum, bum, bum. Drunk Turkish man reportedly found himself in the woods after assisting an hour-long search party for himself. According to the Wednesday report from the Daily Mail, 50-year-old Bihan Mutala, a Turkey resident living in northwestern Bursa province, Ingnal district, was reportedly drinking with a group of friends earlier this month when he wandered off alone, which is never good. You watch a horror movie, you don't do that. Off alone into the forest Kayaka, if I'm saying that right. Probably not. His friends, according to the outlet, became concerned when they couldn't locate him after several hours, along with Mullah's wife, reported their loved one missing. A search party was almost immediately formed, and the group began scouring the area for the missing man. Meanwhile, during his wanderings, Mutala was said to have eventually stumbled upon a search party that was combing through the forest, through the trees for a missing person. Local reports noted that Mutala was inspired to join the search party and began taking on a valiant effort to track down the missing person despite his reported intoxication. Hey, he's there to help. Mutala likely looked high and low. He was definitely high during the search, but it was only when one of the rescuers began shouting his name that he realized his error, and reportedly responded, "Who are we looking for? I'm here." The outlet reported that the law enforcement officials then took him aside to confirm his identity and questioned what happened over the previous hour. During the questioning, Mutala reportedly expressed concerns that he was going to get in trouble with his family. "Don't punish me too harshly, officer," he reportedly said, and noted that he was particularly concerned over what his father's reaction might be. He reportedly added, "My father will kill me." Rescue workers transported Mullah home following the incident. He was unhurt, according to local reports. It is unknown at the time of this reporting whether Mullah was facing any charges in connection with the bizarre happening. Missing 411? No, he found himself.
How old was he? They do say missing people show up, within 24 hours.
Maybe
usually.
He was abducted by aliens. They're like, this guy is way too drunk. Put him back. 50-year-old. He's worried about what his father's going to say, and he's 50 years old.
I know, that's what I'm saying, yeah.
I think that explains a lot. So, yeah, first tip when drinking out in the woods, buddy system. Buddy system. You know what? When you're not drinking,
Even if
buddy
you're
system.
not, yeah.
Yeah, buddy system. Any horror movie will teach you that. Go listen to David Paulides, whatever you say his name's Missing 411, and you'll never want to be alone in a national park or forest.
Yeah.
Ever.
Every time I go, bike riding at night in the woods or something like that, Darcy's always, "Do you want to end up in that 411 missing book?" Yeah.
Yeah, I think, hey, well, at least somebody will remember me, right?
Yeah.
All right. All right. Next up, this is from Paranormal Canuck blogspot.com. Weed smoking poltergeist must be a Canuck. A weed smoking poltergeist must be a Canuck. From, like I said, Paranormal Canuck blogspot.com. Living in a flat above a shop usually means, and this is from their article, you are subjected to many unusual smells and sounds during the daytime, depending on the niche in which the shop exists. If you spent your time in a dwelling located above a bakery, for instance, you'd probably wake up to feeling hungry every day due to the pastries being cooked only a few meters away from your bed. Actually, there's a cookie shop, a cookie factory, and it goes back and forth. It smells really good, and then it smells really bad. So I don't know if that would be the same for a shop. Where was I? Let's see. I totally lost my place. If you lived above a hairdresser's, you might even have to keep your windows closed during the day. However, nobody really thinks about what might happen at night until it's too late. Sarah Mills lived on her own, and so she had rented the cheapest property she could find. She split from her last boyfriend more than 6 months ago, and apart from going to work, rarely moved from in front of her television. The flat she rented was directly above a sandwich shop in the village of Heath Hayes, just outside of Canuck. She would wake up every morning to the smell of fried bacon and sausage. Oh, that would do me in. I would be so hungry every morning. But that didn't bother her too much. In fact, she never once complained about a smell during the daytime. It was the ones at night that began to cause a problem. Sarah had been living in the flat for around 3 months when she first began to notice something odd happening during the early hours of the morning. She would wake up in her bed and instantly get the strongest whiff of cannabis. Sarah presumed someone was going into the shop downstairs at night and smoking it. Or maybe they were even growing it in a back room or something. After a couple nights of this, Sarah decided to investigate. One morning, just before she left for her office job, Sarah nipped into the sandwich shop beneath her and found flat and approached the counter. She asked the ladies working there if they could ever smell weed, and she explained what had been happening during the night. The ladies were perplexed and slightly amused, but they were adamant that the pigeon order was definitely not coming from their shop. They did, however, agree to check the CCTV cameras in case someone had been sneaking in during the night. That evening, Sarah arrived home to find a note pushed through her door. It was from the ladies downstairs who run the sandwich shop. They explained that the CCTV didn't show anything unusual, and so the smell must be coming from somewhere else. The issue was there was literally nowhere else it could be coming from. Sarah was confused, but her quest for discovering the truth only strengthened. That evening, at the same time as the last few nights, Sarah awoke in her bedroom to the strong smell of marijuana. But this time, something was different. She couldn't place her finger on it, but she almost felt like she was being watched. All of a sudden, Sarah jumped out of bed and ran towards her living room after hearing the sound of something smashing. It was a photograph of her brother. The frame and glass were both smashed, and the picture lay on the living room carpet. Sarah's brother passed away 3 years ago at the age of 33. He suffered from a sudden heart attack and never recovered. The doctor said he had some unusual heart defect that he had lived with his entire life. They just discovered it too late to offer any treatment. Another interesting thing about Sarah's brother is that he loved to smoke pot. Everything fell into place, and Sarah realized her brother was most likely attempting to make contact from beyond the grave. She did some research online to find out if there was anything she could do to assist her brother's spirit to communicate, and she decided to order a Ouija board. Bad idea. Don't do that. It would arrive 2 days later, but things didn't exactly go according to plan. It doesn't usually. Sarah decided she would wait until she was awoken by the smell of cannabis again before she used the Ouija board, but right on cue, that happened the following night. Sarah ran into her living room and sat down near the board. She placed her fingers on the glass and said, "Does anyone want to communicate?" In a flash, 3 ornaments on her masterpiece flew across the room, and the glass under her fingertips began to move. The glass spelled out the word, "Run." Just then, every door in Sarah's flat slammed shut, and the floor began to rumble. She was worried it was an earthquake, but her logical mind told her that this was something paranormal. Sarah, taking advice from the Ouija board, got up from the table and exited her flat. She walked down the stairs into the road in front of the building. As Sarah glanced up at her living room window, she saw what she describes as a demon with horns and red eyes glaring back at her. Needless to say, Sarah moved out of that flat the very next day. She told her landlord there was a rat problem to avoid losing her deposit and found somewhere else to live locally. I love the rat solution there. She now believes her brother wasn't the only spirit attempting to make contact with her. She believes her brother used the smell of cannabis to get her attention, as she knew he loved to smoke, and then warned her just in time about an evil force lurking to either take over the space or worse, maybe even possess her. No matter what the truth might be, Sarah seems to have a lucky escape. What do you think about that one?
Sounds like she got some of that weed that Miley Cyrus got with the taco truck.
She wasn't smoking weed, though. It was the ghost of her brother or the demon, or both. Her brother was smoking it up with a demon in her house.
Shotgunning her. No, that's pretty weird.
I would love to know if she'd never brought the Ouija board into this, if she actually could have made contact with her brother. I feel like the Ouija board being brought into this was a bad idea and caused the later effects of the demon and the rumbling. When you put enough fear, I mean, obviously she's waking up in the middle of the night scared. The smell is starting to unnerve her. She can't explain it. And there's got to be, she's alone. She's not been alone in her life for a long time till recently. She just broke up with the boyfriend she lived with. Now she's alone. I think when you add fear into the Ouija board, if there's even a slight bit of it, it's a bad thing, a real bad thing. There's people who use Ouija boards with no problem. They don't have no fear of it.
Yeah.
I'm not telling you to go out there, I don't fear the Ouija board, I'm going to go use it. You better be damn sure about that. Because I've had people say that, and then it comes out they're definitely scared. They're just being bravado, and then you pay the price. I don't recommend it.
Yeah. I mean, it's easy to joke about that, but I mean, if you're in that position and your floor is rumbling and things are happening and things are flying around, it's a whole different story.
It is. I always find it interesting, though, when people talk about loved ones and recognizing them by smells. There is a smell my great-grandmother has. I swear I know when she's come around at times. I just know the smell. There's a smell my grandmother, who I was really close to. I was close to my great-grandmother, too, actually, but I was really close to my grandmother. And there's sometimes I smell the smell. But when I smell it, I go to smell Liam, or I give him a kiss, and he has his own particular smell. I have a very sensitive nose. But that smell will be suddenly gone, and I'll smell my grandmother. It's happened a few times.
Yeah.
I'll acknowledge it. And I'll say, hi, Grandma.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So I believe people, it's interesting how, you can't see them, but you can feel them and smell them, and a lot of times, go ahead.
My older cousin, she had gotten rid of all her mom's stuff and everything, and there's a certain smell that she has, and every so often she smells it when she feels her around.
Yeah, I love
And there's
those
no
stories.
more coats there, no more things, that could be carrying anything.
But sometimes they're not great smells. Like smoking, I can't stand the smell of smoke. And there's so many people report loved ones coming across that are heavy smokers, cigarette smoke.
Or a cigar smell.
I'm glad I don't smoke anymore, because I don't want to come back as a ghost smelling like cigarette smoke. I hate that smell now. So glad. I hope that doesn't follow me, because I'd hate that smell now. Let's see. Before I go to the next article, I've been trying to talk about Q&A with the chat room. I'm trying to see. It's so hard for me to do both. I wish it would give you guys control of the chat room, so you could post stuff up here. Getting the Ouija board from Jim here. Board was one toke over the line. Yes, best comment of the night, dude. Jim. I mean, we got the night. Hopefully, will go longer, but yours is my favorite tonight. Getting the Ouija board was one toke over the line. Bump, bump, bump. I love it, Jim. I love you. That was the best. Why can I think of some punchline like that? You are awesome, Jim. All right, let's see what we got. This has got to be from you, Rob or Jamie. Is it illegal for pods? Is it illegal in Connecticut? I don't know. Shelley, she waited till the next day to leave. Hell no, I would have left that second. Yeah, if the house is run, well, no, it sounded like she ran downstairs. I dropped the article. Let me see. Let me go back. Didn't it say she ran downstairs right after it happened? I don't think it said she waited the next day. I mean, I think she moved out the next day, but I think she walked out. She ran downstairs. She left she ran that night. It doesn't say if she went back and slept there. She might have had no choice. I don't know how you sleep.
Yeah.
Again, I feel bad for my wife up there. It's got to be up super early with our 5-year-old. Yeah. Neither of us can sleep when our kids are sick. But yeah, the Ouija board was definitely one toke over the line. That's my best comment tonight. It made my heart, warms my heart. I see what you did there, yeah. Speaking of Ouija boards, I still have my coffee table for sale. Any takers? You got a coffee table Ouija board? Is that what you're saying? I've seen those. Never bringing the board in when you are by yourself. That is definitely, yeah, definitely agree on that. I'm not afraid of my table.
It all depends.
Yeah.
See, here's Sage. Yeah, I guess she has a Ouija board coffee table, which actually I would be interested. Like, if I didn't have kids in the house and stuff like that, if I was a single guy in the paranormal like I am, I would totally have a Ouija board coffee table. I own a number of Ouija boards. I don't use them, but I own them. But I'm not afraid of my table. I'm the one that made it. I totally get that, Sage. I know tons of people that swear they can use the Ouija board no problems, and I believe them. I think it's about intent. It's the cave on Dagobah for Luke Skywalker.
I've been building them since I was 8, and I only had one oops, and that's because we were 13. I did something we shouldn't be doing. My mom had me clean it up.
That's usually when that age is when the Ouija board shenanigans happen.
Mm-hmm. But after that,
no thing.
I have no problems with any of it.
It's
I like
Ariana.
that.
No, thank you.
I like that meme that I see every once in a while. It's a big area rug of a Ouija board, and it's like everything's all cool until the Roomba summons a spirit.
Right, I see that.
Yes.
Yeah, I totally would. Yeah, I would totally like to make a comedy video with a Roomba and a Ouija board carpet.
That would be awesome.
If I had more time. I don't play with talking boards, Royal. Is there watching over him? I'd believe that. I honestly do. I think he has both his grandmas. He's got my wife's mother was like a patron of the family. I loved her to death, and so everybody loved her. I think I've seen her watching over Dean too.
There was a museum here. They've moved since then, but they had a bunch of really old Ouija boards. And there was one in there that used to creep me out, and it was a Nazi era Ouija board.
Oh no, I ain't touching that.
With rumors of Hitler used it.
Oh no.
Yeah, that one. Every time I was around it, it just gave me a creepy, weird.
Yeah.
That's
I would
what
actually
I
have it in my.
wouldn't even
I would
touch.
have it in my collection though. I would have it in my
Yeah, I
collection,
know.
but it'd be like in a locked iron chest.
It'd be like Annabelle, like behind the glass.
Yeah, I would totally want that in my collection, but I'd not ever touch it.
Yeah.
All right, we got somebody on the phone line. Who do we got? It doesn't show me an area code. You're
Hi,
on
it's Zariana.
Hey, Zariana, thanks for joining.
Hi. Yeah, I don't like Ouija boards. No. Won't ever have one in my house. Won't ever work with one. Won't ever do anything.
I can't say the same. I've definitely worked with them and I've messed around. I don't anymore, but I own a number of them. I even own a glow in the dark one.
Well, I lived in 300 houses, and one of them, the daughter, one of the bedrooms, the room was black, and in the closet they left a board and a book, and we couldn't get rid of either. We would throw it out and it would come back and everything.
I've heard these stories. That people try to get rid
It
of.
was horrible.
Yeah.
It was horrible.
Yeah.
But one of the stories I was going to say is that one of the houses that we were looking at to buy, this is years ago, I went in and I had the creepy feeling all through the house, right? Mm-hmm. So we went in the basement, and all I got was these visions of blood and violence and death and all this other stuff, right? So I ran out of the house.
Yeah.
I literally ran out of the house and in the car. So scared the heck out of the real estate person that was selling the house, right? So at the time, my husband made up some excuse, well, we'll let you know the whole thing, right? So I said, no, I'm not getting it. I'm not buying it. We're not buying it. We're just staying away from it, right? So, and so we politely said, no, we're not interested, But 2 weeks after the house, 2 weeks after that, the house burned down.
Mm-hmm. I swear that's the way of haunted houses. Like a large percent of the time is they burn down. I don't know why.
Yeah. Well, the story was that the guy that died, the owner of the house that died, he was connected, let's say.
Yeah.
And did something wrong, and he paid the price. So, definitely not very good.
No.
But yeah. So. I wouldn't. Now I don't live in. I've learned to control everything that's in my house right now. So,
You should go see this show. I know I mentioned on here before a comedy sitcom from the BBC called Ghosts. It's had 2 seasons. I can't wait for the third. And
I've seen it.
I keep missing it.
You seen it, Ariana?
They're doing an American version.
I know. They always got to do that. I'm fine with the British version. You don't need to do an American version. But yeah, go check out the BBC version, people, before the American version comes out. But I just there's a scene where they go looking for a new place to live because she sees ghosts, and she's trying to find an apartment in a house that's not haunted, and it's hilarious. There's like because she sees anybody who's like a dead, like there's one point she looks out a window, she thinks this place is great, she looks out a window and there's actually two ghosts from World War II stuck on a power line. They're like, hello, like waving at her, like, you see us, She's like, no.
I like the episode where she was she put a video, not video, or DVD or whatever they call it.
What, Friends?
And the ghosts left them alone.
Yeah.
They were just watching
Friends. And then she needed their help. She needed their help, and they're like, we're watching Friends. You didn't want our help. You gave us Friends. And then she didn't. Then they find out at the end of the episode she didn't have the second season. They were. It's a great show, people. Highly recommend BBC Ghost. I would love to have that. It's a comedy troupe. They did Horrible Histories before that, and I loved Horrible Histories. Stupid stupid because they're true. If you've ever seen that, anybody Horrible Histories fans? I am. I would love to have that actor on. He played the Grim Reaper, and he always do the stupid deaths, and he plays a hilarious ghost in the show who has no pants. He died with no pants on. A
They
PM.
also did there was also a show from BBC. I watched the American version and the English version called Humans. I think Humans. And Being Human.
Being Human.
I think.
Oh God. Oh, don't get my wife. If my wife's watching, she's probably. we loved the first season of Being Human. BBC. And then they killed. I don't want to spoil it, but they kill off a main character that we loved. Yeah. And then they kill everybody off, and the whole next season, and then the third season went totally crazy, and it just went so downhill. Like, I hate it when a show has like a perfect, beautiful first season, and then they just obliterate the writers. Something happens. I don't know what happens. They just obliterate. Like, you should have just left it at the one season. And then the American version, my wife refused to watch because she loved the BBC's original first season version. I actually watched the American version on that one. It wasn't bad. But it's hard to watch if you were a fan of the BBC. But I liked some of the actors in it.
It was definitely different, a little bit different than the American version. But so So the BBC usually has the better.
They always start out with the better version, and then America's got to go and copy it.
Yeah.
They tried. They were talking about doing that with Doctor Who early on. I'm thinking, and then a lot of Doctor Who fans are like, "Are you nuts?" Like Doctor Who is British, Time Lord. That's it. Just like James Bond is British. And I agree.
Yeah. Well, I'll be sending some healing prayers for your son.
Yeah.
I know how that is. It
worked out. I didn't have a guest till later. Like I said, Siobhan Smith will be joining us here in a little bit because I couldn't have focused on that. I needed just to have some conversation, relax with you guys because I'm always on edge when my kids are sick. I'm a worry wart. So.
Well, I got lots of stories from my houses that I lived in, so
And I always love hearing them.
I got them. So, too bad Marcus isn't here anymore.
I know.
He was always a good call.
I was just thinking about Marcus the other day.
Yeah.
It's hard to think that we won't ever hear his call into this show or Weird Wednesday. And if Heather had her show, not hearing his voice on there, it breaks my heart. But in spirit, I think he's with us. He's listening, Marcus, right?
Yeah. We may hear his voice on here one of these days.
Yeah, it might happen. We won't try. I'm going to put that out there now. For Marcus's family and that, if Marcus comes through, it'll be on his own volition.
Maybe the spirit box, if Jamie and Rob do a spirit box on a Wednesday.
But they're not going to, I'll tell you right now, they're not going to ask for them.
Summon people.
No.
We won't try to actually look for it. If they come through and it sounds like somebody's wanting to talk and still you can't say that that's them. It might be a spirit helping them talk, but never will we
I have no
tried
problem with
to.
people calling into the show wanting their loved ones to come through.
Yeah.
That's what I do it for. I do it for that reason. But we won't,
Yeah.
if Marcus's family called in for it, then that'd be a different story.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah. All right.
well,
Alrighty.
thank you,
So,
Zuriana. You have a great night.
You too, everybody. Blessings to everybody.
All right, blessings to you.
Bye.
Bye. All right. Like I said, I just added on a bunch of articles. I had a lot tonight. Like, if this had been a normal show night, I'm like, damn, which articles do I pick for the World Wide Web of Weird? Well, tonight it's like, I could just extend it because we got open lines. And what did I have next? Oh, yeah, Angry Birds. Oh, no, that's not right. Oh, I
That's
skipped
that
over
small
Angry
little-
Birds. How
I
did
know,
I
this
totally
one.
got messed up. Should have been Angry Birds before that. Did I screw it up, not get the picture in there? It would have been number 10. Angry Birds attacking drone. I might have missed that one. I was doing it in a hurry. I can just read the article. We don't need a picture for it really quick. But I found this on Unexplained Mysteries. You can find it. Real-life Angry Birds attack delivery drones. The idea of delivering parcels to recipients via autonomous aerial drones seems to have been gaining more and more attraction in recent years, opening the door to a future in which items we order online can be deposited in our gardens mere hours after clicking confirm purchase on the website. In Canberra, however, an increase in delivery drones use has met with some unexpected opposition in the form of ravens, which have started attacking the flying machines on site. One customer, Ben Roberts, has become acutely aware of the problem after going outside to wait the delivery of his morning coffee. Literally, delivery of his morning. He is having his coffee delivered by. Are you kidding me? Whatever. Via drone each day. Really, dude? I guess you feel special. I guess you feel special, but wow.
People are
I think
getting
they're-
their pizzas delivered right through their apartment windows.
Wow. It's a matter, or what did he say? It's a matter of time before they bring one down, he said. The birds' attack have become so common in the area that the drone company has been forced to pause flights until a solution to the problem can be found. Maybe they want your Starbucks. It's assumed that the Ravens must be perceiving the drones as some sort of territorial threat. According to Wayne Condon, chief pilot and instructor with the UAV training in Australia, it is best to avoid flying drones near bird nesting sites and to fly them early in the morning to avoid attacks. I never knew this would be an issue, right? He also suggests backing the drones away from the birds if an attack does occur. However, given that drones are autonomous, this is certainly not an ideal solution. We have identified some ravens demonstrating territorial behavior in small part of our delivery area in the suburb of Harrison, and we've asked local ornithological experts to investigate this further and ensure we continue to have minimal impact on bird life, said the drone company. Service will be temporarily paused for a small number of customers in Harrison during the time. Get a coffee maker, dude. Got my coffee delivered by drone. No, you dumb birds. You know. Speaking of flying things, now look at this. Isn't technology grand? Flying microchips the size of grains of sand could be used for population surveillance.
What if you inhaled one of those?
That's
like
what
if
I
it was
thought,
flying
too.
around and then you inhale it.
I don't think it'd be a good thing, right? I think could kill you. I don't know. Is it neither a bird nor a plane, but a winged microchip as small as a grain of sand that can be carried by the wind as it monitors such things as pollution levels or the spread of airborne diseases? Just think about that. The tiny microflowers were developed by engineers at Northwestern University, where it's detailed in an article published by Nature this week, are being billed as the smallest ever human-made flying structures. The devices don't have a motor. Engineers were instead inspired by the maple tree's free-falling propeller seeds, technically known as samara fruit. The engineers optimized the aerodynamics of the microflowers so that as these structures fall through the air, the interaction between air and those wings causes a rotational motion that creates a very stable, slow-falling velocity. So what happens when they eventually fall out of velocity and they just fall to the ground? What happens then?
Oh, Jason, John just sent $20.
Oh,
on
jeez. Thank you, Jamie.
YouTube.
Let me see. Does it let me? Supposed to. Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
It doesn't show. It shows it at the top, but then I missed the where it comments in there. Yeah, I just see it highlighted. Thank you, John. Yes, people, you can donate on not Patreon, but YouTube Super Chat. You can donate on Patreon $2 a month, but if you don't want to do Patreon, you can donate on YouTube under Super Chat. Thank you, John. You're awesome. He's done a number of donations, and your donations do help pay for the bills of the show, which, I wouldn't be able to do probably now. I do want to say, we're almost at the commercial break. Some of this other stuff, I had a lot of extra articles I'll carry on to the next Sunday probably. Things are changing in the world. As I said, mandates are tyranny. There could become a time, I should just pull this on me, talk seriously now. There could become a time where I'm not able to do this show anymore. I don't want that to happen. I really do enjoy doing this show. I look forward to it every Sunday. It is my escape of the stresses of life. And I enjoy being commiserating with you people. You're all so awesome. But if my state doesn't do enough to protect my freedom, I will sell my house, pack up my family, and move to a state that does. I will sell everything, give up this show, protect myself, protect my family. They are number one, most important. I will keep trying to do this show as long as I can, but things are rapidly changing in this world, and people are willingly giving up their freedoms. It makes me sick to my stomach. All I tell people to do is not comply. Support those who don't, even if you have, because we should respect people's freedom. That's all I got to say. I was going to get more into it, but with Liam tonight, my brain wasn't there to be able to give that kind of get on my soapbox. I just couldn't do it. But I do want to mention that I love doing this show. I want to try to do it as long as I can, and donations like John's help so immensely. Thank you, John. But there could be a time I just can't do this financially because I have to give up a lot. I might have to leave my job because I will not comply. And if you don't like that, if that doesn't settle right with you, or you believe in mandates, well, that's you. I'm not going to be silent about that. I don't make this show political. I don't get Alex Jones, Turner Frog's gay. Crap. I don't get into that. I don't get into that. I want to talk about what's here in our soul. I want to talk about our experience as human beings. But freedom is very important to me. I believe in the foundations of this country and America, and I hate what I'm seeing right now. I absolutely hate it. I don't believe in any political party. I'm a libertarian at heart, but I don't believe in that political party. I believe in human freedom. I believe in rational thinking, critical thinking, which I think is really missing from our media and from people alone. And really people who are just so easily frightened to give up their freedoms. Please don't, America. We have to draw the line here. I'm going to say that, and I know I might lose listeners to that. I might lose viewers, because I know people have really strong opinions about that. But I'm just telling you where I stand on it, because you need to know, because I might not be around. I might not be able to do this show if the line comes to my house, my door, my job. That's just how it is. Not to leave you on a depressing note. Hopefully we'll be back after this commercial break, because I do have a sick 5-year-old to check on. But we are going to go to our commercial break. When we come back, hopefully, we'll have guest Medium Siobhan Smith. She's not doing live readings. We have about an hour with her or so, hour and a half, to talk and learn from her experiences. I'm always interested in talking to mediums and how they see the world and their experiences. And we will get to do that tonight with our guest Siobhan Smith, hopefully, when we come back from the short commercial break.
Effects of sensory deprivation and hallucinatory drugs. The subject of the experiment is himself, and the experiment is out of control. Ken Russell's Altered States, a film that must not be missed, is in the West End now. Altered States, Certificate X.
Do you wish for more paranormal and spiritual content? The Paranormal Chronicles magazine is a free digital magazine crammed with the very best in paranormal and spiritual articles and features. No sign-up, no subscription, just free reading and knowledge for you. Read today at www.paranormalchronicles.com/magazine.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... Nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHN Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Join us every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time for Weird Wednesday, the live stream, with your hosts Jamie, the Living Dead Girl, and Rob, the Phantom, where we'll talk about all things paranormal, including zodiac, astrology, tarot card and oracle card readings, live ghost boxing and spirit communication, where we'll do Voices from Beyond, the Cold Case Files. So we hope you join us live on Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time. We hope to see you there. Bye-bye.
Paranation Magazine is a new paranormal magazine based out of Denver, Colorado. Our goal isn't just to give you the best paranormal content out there, but to promote paranormal unity. We're doing this by giving everyone an opportunity to tell their stories and to share their experiences. For more information, follow us on Facebook at Paranation Magazine and soon, paranationmag.com.
I've Never Met a Dead Person I Didn't Like is the extraordinary travels of a young, alone, and broke psychic in the highly anticipated new book from internationally renowned psychic, medium, medical intuitive, and best-selling author Sherry Dillard. Critics have described I've Never Met a Dead Person I Didn't Like as an engrossing memoir, an empowering story of how a broken girl came to accept her psychic gift, a refreshing and fun read. I've Never Met a Dead Person I Didn't Like is available through Amazon, Kindle, Barnes & Noble, and wherever books are sold.
Edgar Allan Poe wrote Spirits of the Dead with a pen dipped in warm blood. You will see the ultimate in terror with this important all-star cast. Brigitte Bardot, Alain Delon, Jane Fonda, Terence Stamp, and Peter Fonda in Edgar Allan Poe's Spirits of the Dead. Only Poe's demented genius could bring to the screen such horror and evil. Spirits of the Dead stars Brigitte Bardot, Alain Delon, Jane Fonda, Terence Stamp, and Peter Fonda. Directed by three masters of the cinema, Federico Fellini, Louis Malle, and Roger Vadim. Spirits of the Dead is an adventure in terror beyond your wildest nightmares. Spirits of the Dead in color is rated R.
You know, it's just occurred to me we really haven't had a completely successful test of this equipment.
I blame myself. So do I.
Well, no sense worrying about it now.
Why worry? Each of us is wearing an unlicensed nuclear accelerator on his back.
Yep. Let's get ready. Switch me on.
Tonight, joining us, usually they join us earlier, but on the second half of the show tonight, we have guest medium Siobhan Smith, if I'm saying that right. Siobhan has communicated with spirit since childhood, growing up in old Victorian haunted house in the UK. Her mom and her sister, who had child to adult leukemia in the early 80s, all communicated with spirit, as well as their grandmother. She was raised with an Irish Catholic parents and understands the fears that surround the communication. However, it took her to losing her sister in 2009 to embrace her abilities. Siobhan understands that we are all spirit in a human body, and we all can communicate with spirit, and just as her sister would always say, Siobhan, it's an open book, so that is why it comes naturally to her. It took her sister coming to her persistently from spirit, telling her to get on with the work she came back to do, to actually embrace her work as a medium. Siobhan is also a book cover designer, has brought through celebrities in her readings too, as read for Marina Anderson, the actress who was married to David Carradine. We've had a couple people connected to David Carradine on the show. That's weird. Out of Kung Fu from Kill Bill. Her readings don't have time limits, allowing as much from spirit as possible, and she helps her sitters to understand they can do this too. She tunes into spirit half an hour before the reading, as she turns up hours before. She asks them to come back and sit down with them and writes around 8 to 9 pages of specific information. You know, Katrina Cooper is a friend of mine, it's a medium, does about a similar thing. But she is not going to do readings tonight. We only have her for about an hour and a half. But we're going to get to learn and get to talk to her about her experiences, which that's what it's about on this show. All of us sharing our experiences, from mediums to non-mediums to everybody's paranormal experiences. We're all pieces of the puzzle. That's why I do this show. So let's go ahead and get to our guest. All right. Now, did I totally butcher your name? Are you there? Is it Siobhan?
It's Siobhan.
Siobhan.
But well done. People do call me Siobhan, and I don't mind. Call me whatever you like.
You should have heard how I butchered Francois earlier for the serial killer when I was trying to read it. My wife's like, it's Francois, Jason. I'm like, oh, gee, that makes sense.
Oh, do you know what? I don't care. You're American. Your accents are amazing. So whatever way you...
I think British accents are amazing. I think ours are completely boring.
No, not at all. No, I love talking to people in America. So
like,
you can call me whatever way you like. You can call me Frank.
Let's not call you Frank. But so let me get this right. I want to put Siobhan. Is that it?
So no. Siobhan, so if you can I-V
Mrs. Smith.
O-N, and then Smith. Just call me Smith. Yeah. But no, it is Siobhan.
Siobhan.
Okay. Well, so, yeah, Siobhan. Or call me Shiv, if that's better.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us. I gave a little brief bio there of you, but tell us, what was this? I would like to hear a little bit more of this experience, this awakening for you into the spirit world.
Yeah, basically, I did grow up with spirit. I grew up in a haunted house, in a Victorian haunted house in the UK. And basically, it was quite frightening. It was quite overwhelming. Obviously, I've embraced it as I've got older, and it's not to be frightened. You're not to be frightened of it. But back then, the house that we lived in, the man, he didn't want us living in that house at all, because he felt that house belonged to him, and we were imposing on him. So, the things that he'd do, like at 4 o'clock in the morning, he would come and obviously stand outside the bedroom that me and my sister were in, the middle bedroom. And on that sort of landing, he would get the only way you could describe it is like a big hammer and hit it off the wall.
Wow.
It was so frightening. My dad wouldn't even get out of the bed and it wasn't the neighbours, because where our bedroom was on that wall was the landing, and then beyond that was the stairs. So it's not like it was like a neighbour or anything like that. It was just him expressing himself. And obviously, you mentioned about my sister when I was, young, her having that leukemia from a young child to an adult. But one particular night, we would always walk out of the bedroom and walk all the way down the stairs and all the way out to the back, because it was such an old Victorian house. There was no toilet upstairs. And the door would always open, no problem. This one particular night, she was wanting to be sick, and the door just wouldn't open at all. And we were screaming and shouting. My dad was trying to come and kick the door in and everything, and just wouldn't budge, wouldn't open, even though the door would always open freely. Yeah. Then he stepped away from it, and then the door went flying open on its own. So, yeah, there was quite a lot going on in that house. And he just hated us. He just didn't want us there. He felt like that was his house, and it was just like, who were we? Because my mum, very much a cleaning person, always liking to be cleaning, and was up one night at 1 a.m. still cleaning, and she looked up the stairs and seen him solid at the top of the stairs. Ooh. And normal people would have run out of the house.
Yeah.
But my mum was like, oh, I wonder how I'm going to get past him to go to bed.
So obviously this runs in your family quite a bit.
Absolutely. It goes back, to my sister who's passed, my mum, my gran who's passed. My great-granddad would see more spirits than the blades of grass. But being Irish Catholic, my family, my gran and my great-granddad, my gran and great-granddad both had fear in them, and they were just like, don't go there, don't go there. But yet they'd see more than anybody. But my mum was more open to it. So, but me growing up, I was petrified. I'm not gonna lie. It was when you're a little child. Yeah, you're a kid. I mean, my first experience was when I was 2, and my mum had come back into the kitchen because my granddad got run over that day, and she came back into the kitchen and seen me chatting to him. He got run over in Ireland. We were in the UK.
Yeah.
I was in the kitchen. We were talking, and Mum looked at me and seen me talking to my granddad, and then we found out that day that he had got run over. So I was obviously one of the first people that he came and chatted to. I've been communicating with spirit now for over 40 years, and professional for 12. So learnt to embrace it though because of my sister passed, and also with my son coming to me also and helping me, bless him.
You lost your son too?
That, unfortunately, I don't talk much about my son. He does walk with me every day. But yes, he helps me from the spirit world a lot, bless him, as well. So,
I was just mentioning on the show earlier, how, kids forget things, or if stuff fades from their memory of what they witnessed, but sometimes things are so dramatic, or maybe they're so going to always be open to it, that they remember. For me, it was a green floating head I saw when I was 4 or 5. With my cousin. We both saw it, and he thought it was a dream. He wrote it off until I reminded him about it years later. I'm like, no, I was there with you. We both saw it. And one of the things you talk about your Irish heritage is I have a great-grandfather that came from Ireland. Married a full-blooded Cherokee woman. And, I always felt like a lot of my stuff, a lot of all these experiences, and a lot is tied to my Irish heritage. It's a gut feeling, It just seems like we're more Irish or more open to it or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it is possibly that, isn't it? Because I always say to people as well, because people say, you have a gift. And I say, I don't have a gift because we're all spirit and human body. We can all do this. I just think some of us are more open. And I think that's what I think you hit the nail on the head. That's exactly what it is. We're just that little bit more open. And that's why I think it just comes a bit more easier and natural, if that makes sense. Right. But I do always tell people, everyone I work with, I always say to them, look, you can do this. You just have to be open. You don't have to stand on your head chanting Om and meditating for 5 hours, because you didn't do that in life when you spoke to your loved ones.
Right.
So don't feel that you have to do any kind of ritual. I always say to people when I'm working with them, you could be sitting there eating a donut, having a cup of coffee, having a cup of tea. And it's just allowing that mind, isn't it, to wander. And the problem is with people is they think it's their imagination.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm always saying, look, whenever you're sensing or feeling, you feel like there is somebody there, so that you feel like it's not your imagination, ask them for 3 signs. If it's your dad, or it's your child, your mother, whoever it is that's passed over, and you're sensing them or feeling that they're watching you, say to them, look, give me 3 signs. It could be their birth date, their name, their age when they passed, and say, show me these 3 signs throughout the day today, because then that will help me to then decipher and to know that it's you, because that will help then to help you clarify that it's not your imagination. And, there's no coincidence that then they're going to show you them 3 signs that relates to them. Does that make sense?
No, it totally makes sense to me. And I've done that in my life. I mean, we were talking about the weed smelling poltergeist story we were reading about
the weed.
Weed, like marijuana. Pot smoking ghost. But there's one was smelling pot in her house. But I was talking about, it reminded me, I smelled both my great grandmother and my grandmother have distinctive smells, and I've smelled them both, especially my grandmother I was close to. I'll go to sniff my son, who has his own particular smell, and I'll suddenly smell her. And I've acknowledged it. I've said, hey, Grandma. I've said it out loud and acknowledged it. He'll be sleeping, so he doesn't know what I'm doing. He's sick right now. I just want to give you a warning. I think we're in the clear, but I got a sick 5-year-old upstairs at 102 temperature. It last check now it down to 99 after ibuprofen. But if next commercial break when we go to, it'll I might have to cut the show early if anything turns for the worst. I just wanted to let you know.
Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. Right, well, I'm going to be asking my sister in spirit to come. She did a lot of healing work. It's obviously been so sick, so I'll get her to come. If you don't mind, can I?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Thank you.
Her name's Colette, so I'll tell her to go and help because obviously her being a child, very sick, she works a lot with me with healing. So I'll get her to go. And I'm so sorry, bless you, about that.
Thank
but
you.
No,
say thank you to David Coffin really quick in the chat room for your $20 donation. Thank you. Now, one of the things I'm curious about is your sister. She was ill with leukemia from a young age, and she dealt with this all her life. I've been a paranormal investigator. I've actually seen a number of hauntings, and I know of a number of hauntings involved sick children with cancer.
Yes.
Well, why?
Yes.
Why is there that connection?
I believe
Yeah.
that it's because, like, with my sister, obviously we're very open to the spirit world, but also I think what happens, you see, is that obviously we live many lifetimes. We don't just die and become spirit. We are spirit. We come into that body. So I've always learnt with spirit, obviously communicating with them for over 40 years, that when we work with children that have, like the child cancer or autism or ADHD and all these other things that go on with children, and I always see them as very gifted, and I always find that they're very much very old souls. So when they come into that body, obviously we choose these bodies, we choose what we want to go through.
We were just talking about this.
It's crazy, I know it sounds bonkers, but we do choose these experiences. So with my sister, and obviously with other children with the cancer, they would be very, very high vibrating older souls.
Yeah.
And therefore, because they've been here many lifetimes, gone back to the spirit world and come back again, they bring all that wisdom and that knowledge with them. So it would make sense that they would be so open to the spirit world, because obviously the earth plane is a very low vibration. When you talk about spirit, you don't always see them. People say I got a glimpse of them. It's because they're just on a higher vibration, they're speeded up. So when you're going back to the spirit world and coming back and going back to the spirit world and coming back, you're bringing back that sort of higher vibration of energy. So it would make sense then that they would choose these sort of bodies, like my sister chose that body. Obviously I've worked with her since she's passed, but she said, don't feel sorry for me, Siobhan, because I chose that body. Because it's like you'd understand it as this newer souls, they come here, they're very much based fixated with the earth, very much with the material, very much about money. They don't really sort of look beyond that, which is not a problem because we've all been there. But the more you come back, the deeper you become, the more you're sort of wanting to understand more than this, if that makes sense.
No, it totally does.
And that's why with the children, when they have that, they choose them bodies. And obviously people can turn around and say, oh, my child wouldn't choose this and things like that. But obviously I've grown up with that, and I've grown up with my sister, and I know how strong her abilities were as well. And then obviously speaking to her now since she's passed, and she's helped me to understand, because obviously losing her, I know that she was my mum in my past life, because I used to say it as a child, and I was so connected to her, like, as I can't even explain. It was like she was my soulmate, ripped away from her, my best friend. It just nearly destroyed me. But it helped me to understand, as she said, look, Siobhan, as we go through these souls, as we go through as a soul, each lifetime that we come back, we are learning, we are growing. And me being in that body helped me to learn, to grow, because she does so much healing work with me now. And she said to me, if I hadn't have gone through that, then I wouldn't have understood as much as I do about the body. So she does so much healing. Like when we pass over, we do so much work as to what we went through, if that makes sense. You understand?
Yeah. No, we were just talking about, another thing we were talking about before you came on, it was a story about a mom who's, they don't say how old the kid is, but my guess from the video that the kid, you don't see him, but you hear their voice, was like 3. Maybe 4.
Right.
And then they're talking about being run over in a past life.
And
coming back. And, I brought up my 5-year-old that's sick right now a couple years ago when he was like 3, told my wife he chose us. And I had an experience right before I was going to get married to my wife where I saw a translucent, maybe 9 or 10-year-old in my parents' living room in the middle of the day, and I wasn't scared. I didn't feel it was a ghost. It was the most warm, loving feeling, and he smiled at me, and that's the same smile I saw the moment he came out of my wife, and they put him next to her, and he smiled. I have a picture of that, and I knew it was him that I saw.
100%, because again, you doing the great work that you do there's no surprise there, because obviously you've gone back many lifetimes and now you've come back here as a teacher soul. So this older wisdom and this older soul that you have, and this great work that you do trying to reach people, because you've gone through them many lifetimes, and you're coming back here to teach, to show others. And that would have been your child in spirit. You know, it's like I try and explain to people when I work and I do my readings, and I'll bring through information, because obviously I'm a grieving parent. So I work a lot with grieving parents, you know, themselves, lost their kids, and their children will come through from spirit, and they'll talk about things that happened before they were born, and they'll speak about their mum. Well, I know you say mom over there, sorry, mum and dad. And they'll obviously talk about things that have gone on. And I explain to people, you know, they didn't just come into this body and know the now. They were spirit before. So, you know, where we have lived in many lifetimes, like with your child, you know, we could go back. That could have been your grandparent in a past life. That could have been your mum. I totally believe that. Dad. So what you were seeing, that was your child in spirit coming. It's like I always try to explain to people, we don't just die and become spirit. Like my sister came to me 2 days before she died, although she was unconscious in ICU. 2 days before she actually passed, she came to me in my bedroom because I was at home. I'd been up a couple of hours, and I seen her as solid as I see, you know, the brick wall, seeing her hospital gown, all the full detail. And I knew she was going to die. And 2 days later, she passed. But she was just showing me her tricks, you know, because we all dip in and out, you know, and obviously that's another thing we can talk about, astral travel, astral projection. But again, I come out of my body a lot at night. But again, I'm not gifted. You know, this is something we can all do, you know, and this is where you can get that information. So that would have been your son. That would have been his spirit coming to you and showing you. Have you ever thought about doing readings?
Me giving readings? I have. I did do, when I was in my early 20s, I got into tarot, and I have had people tell me, oh my God, you totally knew this stuff, and I don't remember half the time what I told people. I just had a really bad experience when I started doing it over the phone for people. I wasn't doing it for money. I was just doing it for friends, and I did it for a friend's husband, and I got really bad mojo from him. And I turn to look, and it's a dark night in the house by myself doing this reading over the phone. I'm getting bad mojo. He acts like I'm not connecting with him, and I'm feeling like some bad sadistic stuff from him. And I turn to look at my couch, and there's a guy, it looks like a zombie in a suit, sitting on my couch, and he just smiles at me, and the lightning flashed. Like at that time, there's a storm going on. And I go, I'm done with the reading. Sorry, I couldn't get anything for you. And I was done. And I didn't do any much more. I haven't done too much more tarot. And that was many years ago since. Now, I've done it on this show. What do I call it, guys? Oh, my brain's not working right tonight because
Jason Bland's Totally Mundane.
Yes, Jason Bland's Totally Mundane Psychic Reading. Because I'll predict stuff or know stuff that's totally mundane for people.
Oh, you are funny. But you know what? You don't need them tarot cards. You can link directly to spirit, you know?
Oh, I've had that experience. I've had that experience. I had it from holding a photo of a person who was deceased and knew their first and last name, which I had no way of knowing.
No, absolutely. And this is the thing, isn't it? And this is where maybe this is something that you could look at again and going forward with, you know, because
you're not the first one to tell me that.
There you go. There you go. Always trying to encourage people, but always remember as well, protect. You have to protect yourself and then close down, because you open a door, don't you? And it's like opening a door to people that you can't see. So always remembering, and that's a message to everyone, you know, just that protection. I always call on Archangel Michael, but you can call on whatever higher power, you know, that suits you. But always asking for that higher protection, that higher power. And then at the end, obviously asking for that energy to be taken away so that you're not leaving yourself open and vulnerable, if that makes sense.
It makes complete sense to me, because that's what got me really into wanting to do a show. As I was 18 and had a horrible shadow person experience that almost drove me to the end, to the brink. So I do know there's things that lurk out there that are very negative, that can attach to you, very parasitic, that you have to watch out for. So I do know there is a danger a little bit to opening yourself up to this if you don't do it the correct way or know what you're doing. That's my belief.
I totally agree with you 100%, because like you, unfortunately, I have actually been at that point, and I did also try to take my own life, and I don't feel bad about speaking about that, because I work a lot with people that have passed to suicide, and that the darker entity and what you're speaking about, I did have that come back to me after I'd come out of hospital, and obviously I had got through what I'd got through. But because I work a lot with people that have passed to suicide, that was part of my contract. That was part of what I went through. And that's why I can't reiterate enough that you must protect yourself and you must close down. You must do it. And also as well, never ever attempt to communicate with spirit while you're under the influence of drugs or alcohol or anything else that ever. Because you are so leaving yourself the door wide open. You're leaving yourself open and vulnerable. Does that make sense?
Oh, complete sense. I always talk about on the show all the time is that I'm not a drinker really too much, and I feel like there's bad mojo around bars. Like there's spirits hanging around bars, just
definitely
sipping off of people's energy, maybe past alcoholics or other spirits. I don't know, but I just feel this around so many bars. This bad mojo.
Oh, absolutely. Because obviously, what happens is it's lowering your vibration. So then you're leaving yourself the door wide open and vulnerable. So yeah, 100%, definitely. No, absolutely not. Always making sure that if you're going to attempt, that connection, and I always keep it really simple. And I've helped people that are atheists that believe in nothing, and now they're doing their own reading. So you can do this, but leave yourself, protect yourself, close yourself down, and always make sure that you're clear-minded and have no influence of anything in your system.
One of the things I think is interesting you bring up is asking your loved ones to give you like 3 signs.
Yes.
I feel like once you open yourself up to this, the idea of the spirit world, you do realize about these synchronicities they're able to do. They're amazing.
Oh, absolutely.
And you 100%. People are like, oh, you're just looking way too deep. They don't get it. They don't understand how it works. No. And I'm one of those people that's open to it. So I do recognize signs a lot. What kind of, can you help people? How do they open themselves up to this kind of synchronicity, this way the spirits communicate? It's incredible to me, but I believe it.
The way I would say is obviously keep it simple. I know people like to overcomplicate it all the time and say to people that they need to go and study for 20 years and do all these courses, but that couldn't be beyond, the truth, because you don't need to. Yeah. Just allow yourself to be open, so again, it could be like you're washing up at the sink, washing up a cup, ready to make a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, and your mind just wanders. And then people, it's like when you're brushing your teeth, or people will say, oh, I feel like someone was watching me, but I was brushing my teeth, or I was sat there watching TV and I could feel or sense something. Yeah. So again, just working with them senses, because the problem is so many people brush it off and they say, oh, it's my imagination. And it's not your imagination. That's the thing. But because you can't see, you then think it is your imagination or you're going crazy, and you're not. So this is why I always say to people, when you're feeling and getting that sense, that's when you say, look, show me them 3 signs. And again, it could be their name, it could be their birthday, it could be their age, anything you want. And then when you get that, then you know that it's them. But also I always try to explain to people, when I touch back here and I said to you earlier about we don't have to die to come out of the body. A lot of the time when we're asleep, we are coming out of the body, and people will say, oh, we're dreaming, that's just dreaming, blah, blah, blah. So I always say to people, look, this is where you can really get information. And it's not because the spirits see it as a horror movie. They're not thinking, I'm going to come to you in the middle of the night to scare you like Hollywood horror movie. It's not like that. It's because you're dipping. It's because, you're half in and half out of sleep. So you're dipping in and out. So you're much easier to communicate with. So that is why. So I always say, keep a journal by your bed, and then obviously ask for that protection before you go to sleep, and then ask for them to help you, to remember. Magnesium, obviously, if you're not on any medication and you're allowed to have it with a doctor, is very good to help as a relaxant, to help you naturally have a better sleep. Ah, awesome. So that is good. Daily. Obviously, you'd have to check with your doctor. That is good. It is very good for you. It's also a very good natural antidepressant. I'm not a doctor and I'm not a professional in that area.
No medical advice,
check with no medical advice. Medical advice. Personal experience, and if the doctor says you're allowed it. But yeah, it helps you to get that really good rest, deeper sleep. And then obviously when you're coming in and out of that body, I say to people, look, why don't you test your loved ones and say to them, look, if I'm really coming out of my body, bring me to a loved one's house. Okay. So if I'm coming out, bring me to a loved one's house. It could be your parents. It could be, you know, your children, if you've got grown children, a friend, whatever. And say to them, you know, bring me out one night and show me what's going on, you know. And again, this is an example. So they could bring you out one night and you could end up seeing your loved one, you know, that's in another house, that they're up at night, it could be 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, and you're watching them. And then they show you the time and it's 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, whatever. And then you see that they can't sleep, you know, and that they're up and they're about and they're like, oh, I can't sleep, so I'm going to have a cup of tea, a cup of coffee, whatever. You could then say to them the next day, you know, were you up last night at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock? Were you having a cup of tea? Were you having a cup of coffee? And then they'll look at you like, what the hell? Mm-hmm. And it's because you've seen them doing that. So this is where I'm always trying to explain to people, try and get spirit to show you some validation, some sort of specific validation that way. Like when I've dipped in and out of my body and I see things and then I tell people, and then they're able to validate what I've seen. And this will help you to understand and build your own journey, because this is where when we go to visitation dreams, that's because what's happening is that's your loved one in spirit coming to you, but it's also your spirit coming out. And when you're feeling that intensity, like that hug, that kiss, you know, that real love, that's because your spirit's out with theirs and you two are actually together, you know. And it's almost like, so, you know, they're not just coming to you and you're lying there asleep. It's because your spirit's coming out. Like I go back to again, we don't have to die to come out of the body. So this is where you can get that intensity, that love from them, a message. So when you're waking up, it may be that they say to you, December 12th is important. So you write it down in your journal and you say, okay, well, my loved one told me December 12th was important. And they might say to you and show you or point to their teeth. And then you write that down, they pointed to their teeth. And then December 12th comes along and someone has to have a tooth pulled. And you'll be like, oh my God, they told me that information. They said December 12th. Do you see what I'm saying?
Oh, I know. I've experienced it.
You know, and it's also like, it's just helping others, isn't it, to understand and recognize, if that makes sense.
Thank you to John in the chat room for the $10 donation. What are you going to say, Jamie?
I always know that it's a visitation dream rather than just me dreaming of them, because that's one of the only times I get the physical eye contact when we look in each other's eyes.
100%. And it's intense, isn't it? Yeah. There's always a massive difference between dreaming and a visitation because of the intensity. So you get that eye contact or you feel that hug or you feel that kiss. It's just more real, isn't it?
I feel impaired to tell you about one I had that I've been struggling with.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe you have some thoughts on this. It was not long. It wasn't too long after this dream that the whole COVID thing started too. Which scares me, is my grandmother and her sister, my aunt, who I was close to both of them, and especially my grandmother. And my aunt had passed, she had passed probably not a year before this dream. It's hard for me to talk about. All it consisted of is like I'm in this, almost like you're in like a back room of a party with like there's drapes like they put up around to like close off like a private VIP section.
Yes.
And there's my grandmother and my aunt. I get emotional.
Oh, bless.
Sorry, it's hard for me to talk about this. Wearing all black. And they both come up and give me, I mean, this is why I felt it's communication, because it's the hug. I could smell them in the dream. Like they were hugging me, and just there's a sadness. And I woke up with this sadness, and it's disturbed me ever since. We're a year and a half, 2 years later. I still think about this dream almost once a week. You know what I'm saying? Like, what does it mean? What are they sad about? What's going to happen? You know, like it kind of terrifies me, because they just like, there's no words. They're not talking to me. It's just emotion and a feeling.
Yeah. And that makes complete sense. And I will explain it to you completely. When I go to work with spirit, and they come, they turn up, you know, sometimes hours before. And obviously I sit with them for half an hour, 40 sometimes, depending if they want to talk more. Obviously, when they're giving me that feeling, they come to me and they give me that emotion and that love because of the intensity, because they fill me up with that emotion and love, so I can start crying because they're giving me the emotion and love that they have for the person that's living. So what you were getting there was real. That was completely real.
I feel it is.
So when they came to you. That was your grandmother. That was your aunt. And the reason why you had that sadness and you woke up with this sadness is because that was them giving you that emotion of love for you. And you were feeling so overwhelmed with their love that it made you sad. I know it sounds completely crazy, but when we have that emotion, like when I get that emotion and love from spirit, because they love their loved ones so much and they're so excited to talk to them, they'll fill me up with that emotion. So I could be like crying my eyes out, you know, and feel, because I'm so overwhelmed with the love that they have for the loved one that they're going to be talking to. So when your aunt and your grandmother came to you, it wasn't because they were trying to make you sad. It's because you were feeling and picking up on their love. It's like,
what I struggle with, what I want to say is, what I struggle with is I almost felt like they were trying to warn me of something, though.
No, that's your own sort of.
Okay.
What's happening is a combination here. Because obviously going on with all the virus all over the world, it's affecting everybody. That's your own sort of subconscious. That's your own sort of. It's like I always say to people, things that go on in the day and things that affect you will always play out in a dreamlike state, and it will, you know, if anything's negative, it's never it's not a visitation. Okay. But this was a visitation. But the reason why you woke up with a sadness, let me explain, happened to me as well with my sister years ago, obviously when she passed even, should I say, is I had woken up and I woke up crying. I literally was crying my eyes out. And it's because she had come to me. And it was so overwhelming for me because of her energy coming to me and that intensity of us kissing and hugging each other, that then my physical body was reacting with that emotion. It's like, you know, if your aunt and grandmother came back to life, and obviously they're still alive, we know that. They're out of that body. They're very much alive. They're more alive than they ever have been. But if they came back to life as a physical human person and you've seen them as an actual human, you would go up to them and you'd hug them and you'd be crying your eyes out because of the emotion, because you'd be so excited. Because when we cry, it's not just because you're miserable or sad, it's because you're also happy, and we can cry out of love. Does it make sense what I'm trying to explain?
Yeah, it does.
So there's definitely no sort of premonition or sort of like them warning you of anything.
I was worried because them wearing all black, like at a funeral, is what it was like a very dramatic black funeral dress.
That's
for both
because
of them.
what they're again, with them wearing the black, it's just them bringing you back, because obviously we associate. It's that association, isn't it? Because majority of the world, they go to a funeral, we wear black.
Yeah.
So it's just showing you that sort of colour association, if that makes sense. It's like we associate the colour yellow, you know, with sunshine and happiness, because we're taught that on the earth plane. But it was more of them coming to you and showing you, look, you know, this is us, we are connecting to you, you know. And it is sorrowful because we're coming to you and having that emotion. But, you know, I mean, I can feel them and sense them already when I'm speaking and saying this to you. Obviously, I'm not going to do a reading.
I know.
But I can assure you 100% that they came to you at that emotion. It's like if you go back and do these readings, and you don't need tarot, by the way, you can link directly to spirit. You don't need that tool. But when you work with spirit, if you choose to do that again, and you do readings with others, you will get that, you know, with certain others when you're working with certain spirits, because you'll feel that intensity. Because when we work with spirit, we see, hear, feel, sense, touch, smell, know. It's that knowingness. It's all of them senses, isn't it? That's why when you woke up, it was your physical body as well reacting, because your spirit was out and you were like overjoyed because they were both there with you. But then your physical body was reacting, like when I woke up and I was crying my eyes out with my sister, because it can be a bit too much for us. Does that make sense?
It was yeah, it does. Because I mean, like I said, we sat. There was this couch in the dream, and we sat down and they hugged me and they put their heads on my shoulder. It's just I felt them. You know, that was so intense, and the missing of them. You know.
Oh, absolutely. And it's overwhelming. And that makes so much sense, because it was partly you and your own self working it through. And then obviously the spirit side of you coming out and having, and, you know, and obviously having them there with you, then both of their spirits, both of them with you. Of course, it's intense. It's like when you pass over, long time yet. This is not, you know, I'm not predicting anything like that. But, you know, when you see them, because, you know, obviously people have spirits come to them, you know, when we're at that point of dying, you know, of not dying, but passing over, whatever you want to call it, coming out of the body. And people can be crying because they start saying that they're seeing people. You know, it's like my granddad didn't believe, my mum's dad. He was like, no, not interested, don't believe in spirits, don't talk to me about it, shut up, don't speak. And when he was dying, he said to my mum, oh, I don't want to frighten you. Obviously, my mum wasn't frightened because she was really open to spirits and everything. But seeing her sister at the end of the bed, because she was 7 and she fell in the fire, the open fire, back in Ireland when she was a child. And he had said, can you see the young girl at the bottom of the bed? And it was his sister, you know, that had died all them years ago. And he was like, you know, and he just didn't want to accept ghost spirits, just was like, no. And obviously he was crying, he was emotional, and because he was getting more receptive, because he was going back to the spirit world, if that makes sense.
What a gift
that's
for
why
him.
little children.
What a gift for
Absolutely.
him.
And
to
it
know
is a
that he's
gift.
going somewhere that somebody's waiting for him. A lot of people, you think about so many people that do go, I've seen it. I've seen it with my wife's grandfather, and I've seen it with other people as they get in an older age. They get scared. You know, they get so scared.
Yeah.
You know, what's on the other side? They go through their lives just looking away from it for so long, and then they get their body starts giving out on them. Their mind is there, but their body isn't anymore, and they're so
100%.
scared. And I mean, my grandmother that passed away, she passed away. Her mind wasn't there. She had Alzheimer's, and the big concern with her was like, is she going to have? Me and my mom, we were so broken up on this. You know, like she.
Can I tell you?
Yeah.
I'll tell you about that, because as well as you touch on this, and I want to help to sort of really help you with this, and for others as well that have been listening, because with the Alzheimer's, my uncle, he was in Ireland, he's passed away now, but for years he had the Alzheimer's, and I'd always go down the stairs and he'd be there. He was living in Ireland, his physical body was in Ireland, he had the Alzheimer's, and he was Uncle Paddy, but he would always come, he'd be dipping in and out of his body, and I'd be like, all right, Paddy. Because he'd be here in my house. I've got my dog, so he'd be here coming to see Bernard. I had just Bernard at the time, and he would be here, and I'd see him as solid as anything. And I'd always say to my mum, she'd speak to my aunt, and my aunt would say to my mum, he did seem far, far away, even further away today. He seemed completely like gone. And I said, well, he was out of the body. He was with me. So this is where, regardless of what we have, we are, you know, and as well, this is why with people with Alzheimer's, you know, when they seem quite far, you know, gone or out of it, or, you know, not themselves, which obviously, you know, that is part of the you know, the illness, bless them, it's because they're actually dipping in and out more. And that's what's happening. But obviously I can see spirit, and that's why I've seen Paddy. But again, this is something that everybody can work on, you know, and ask them, you know, when your loved one has got the Alzheimer's and they're still living, say to them, look, can you help their spirit to come to visit me? Because their spirit could be, you know, we dip in and out for years. We're not just dipping in and out because we're going to die. We all dip in and out. It's just not everybody realizes it. So if that's something you want to work with your loved one, you know, with the Alzheimer's, ask them to come and visit you in that sort of, you know, when you're going to sleep, and ask them to give you information so that you could be meeting them on the astral plane, you know, when you're coming out of your body at night, so you can get that connection with them, even though they're still living, because you can't get that connection because of the Alzheimer's. Does that make sense?
No, it does. I was very lucky to be gifted with my grandmother's presence on the day of her wake. I was working.
Oh,
I was going to
wow.
go to her wake after I got off of work. I was in the bathroom steaming some clothes. I work retail, and I had, you know, associates out on the floor. One of the most skeptical associates always made fun of me being a paranormal investigator. This is weird, but I'm in the bathroom. I'm steaming this shirt, and suddenly I notice the mirror goes black. You know, it's light. It's bright light. There's not black in there, but the mirror goes totally black. I'm like, well, what's going on? And it's like a candle light starts to form. And in that light, I see my grandmother's face smiling at me.
Wow.
And I broke down, and I go out to the floor to tell them I need a break. I need to step away. And before I can even get words out of my mouth, 3 of my associates come up to me like, man, something weird really just happened. It was a slow day, hardly any customers. They're like, and the front door's closed. They're like, a rush of wind came through the store. The skeptical one's telling me this. He's like, it went right like through me. I felt like a tingling. There was like a rush of wind. This has happened the same moment I see my grandmother. So
this is exactly the thing.
Yeah,
it was
she was
reinforcing it.
Yeah, because at that time, that was my thoughts when I'm in that bathroom. I'm just in a bad place, thinking of like, you know, what do I know? Is there an afterlife? I've seen so much weirdness in my life, but is my grandmother okay? And that's when I look up and I saw that. She was telling me. My mom had her own little bit of experience too, because she had the same feelings.
And that's
I think Grandma
real.
reassured us. Yeah, I totally believe it.
100%.
My favorite stories people
happened.
tell me are not the ghost stories or the haunted house stories, but the connections they make with their loved ones after they pass on. Those are I love those more than haunted house stories.
I'll completely agree with you, because so many people do get this, don't they? And then sometimes they can brush it off, but that is real. And it's like when my sister came to me and did that. And interestingly, my sister was showing me as well a year before she died. Sorry, let me explain.
Yeah.
May 1st, 2008. My sister was showing me already her tricks of her dipping in and out of the body, because my sister, having the child adult leukemia, took 3 years to diagnose back in the early 80s, because they didn't really know much about it back then. So unfortunately, her body was quite elderly, so she'd have mini strokes and paralysis and would suffer a lot and not able to walk. So when she was in the back of the car, because I was getting my daughter christened for my parents, because obviously being Irish Catholic, I remember driving there with my partner and seeing my sister in the back of the car in the car park. And I said to my partner, why have they left Colette in the back of the car? And I could see her as solid as I see her in real life, and brick wall. She was still alive. I was like, why have they left her there? She's in the car on her own. She can't walk on her own. She has to have she has to be having an aide helping her. We help her walk. Anyway, ended up that she was actually in the church. She wasn't in the back of the car, but I did see her solid, and she was showing me her tricks, because a year to that date we buried her. May 1st, 2009. Exactly a year on is the day that we buried her. So that was her way of sort of showing me, look, Siobhan, look what I can do. It was her showing off.
Yeah.
She was showing off and saying, look at my tricks, and because she didn't, there was no fear. I mean, I remember, because obviously we had my mum's uncle, my great uncle, he came to us the day that he died, because we heard the steps, walking up the steps in the house, in that haunted house, that Victorian house. Yeah. And we're like, oh gosh, Dad's back. And we heard each step, boom, 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 up the steps. But it was actually our Uncle Jimmy, our great Uncle Jim, my mum's uncle. He passed away that day. And so he came to visit us. But when my sister went to the funeral, she stood up, and she was 12. And she said, I don't know why you're all crying. Because he's right here next to us. So, wow. She never had that fear. But this is the thing, isn't it? Children are so open to the spirit world. We all are, as children. It's just some people are not encouraged, they're discouraged, or they're told to shut up, don't speak, don't say that. So again, a message there to people: if your children are saying things like this to you, record what they're saying, listen to what they're saying, be a bit more open, because where children come from the spirit world, so they're more open, the elderly are going back to the spirit world, and that's why the elderly see a lot as well. So definitely listening to them, because they're preparing themselves, getting ready to go back. Does that make sense?
Yeah. My sister-in-law, who is she's I think she's got very intuitive feelings at times and stuff. She knows things sometimes. My wife does. I think they have it. Recently, she called my wife in a panic mom moment, and my heart broke for her, because she's like, my wife reassured her everything's fine, but her kids say the darndest things, and her 5-year-old goes, well, this is my last birthday. And her sister had this thought, like, oh my God, is it his last? Like a horrible feeling came over with it. And then my wife's like, so sometimes these, people have to watch. You can talk yourself into bad, so you can overlook things. And my wife, I listened to my wife talk to her. I'm like, you're brilliant, honey. I love you. You're brilliant. She goes, all your instincts, when you've had them that have become true, were, what'd she say there? She had a word for it. Like a thought that
premonitions,
but it like you have the thought and it's gone. You let go of it and you remember it later.
That's right.
But if you have the thought recurrently and you keep thinking about it, it's probably not your intuition. Like, she said, has that ever happened? If you kept thinking about something, did it come true? No. but when it was that brief thought, and then you let it go, and then later it comes true, those are usually your intuition. And I thought that was brilliant on my wife
100%.
to calm her sister down. And my heart broke. As a parent, I'm a worry wart. I'm a horrible worry wart. Yeah. As everybody's testified to seeing to me tonight with a 5-year-old with a fever tonight. So my heart broke for my sister-in-law on that. And my wife, I thought my wife was just brilliant to calm her down with that.
Absolutely. And this is the thing as well, isn't it? Because it's exactly as you described. When it comes in, it's not that nagging feeling. It is more of like you're there brushing your teeth and then you hear or you feel something and it comes over you and it goes away. That is, again, intuition. That's spirit talking to you. So always listening to your gut. I always say to people, when you get that feeling, because so often people will say, I wish I'd listened to my gut. My gut was telling me that and I didn't listen. I'm like, that's spirit talking to you. So listen, everybody's got it. It's just as we've evolved, like with the cave women, cave men, we relied more on our instincts back then. This is the thing, isn't it? Whereas nowadays we're so sort of more protected. So we kind of like brush it off because we don't have to rely on our instincts as much. Right. Whereas back then we did. So really, always listening to your gut. It will serve you well.
I know I've talked about that a lot on this show in the past about how I believe a lot of our abilities were lost because we had them early on, telepathy, because communication between primitive man probably was very primitive, and you needed a lot more telepathy to be able to get your message across to like, hey, dinosaur over there. No, there's dinosaurs. Yeah. But,
it's so true.
Angry animal over there, beast, they got to get telepathy working. Yeah. And then they need survival instincts, and those who have it more or by Darwinian evolution are the ones that are going to survive. So that gets passed down through the generations. But now we have, they were like, their wise man would know it's going to rain. Now we have the weather app. You know what I'm saying? We have all these things that take away that.
Exactly. This is exactly the thing. We are relying less on our own instincts and our own, knowing. That's the thing, isn't it? And when you work with spirit, it is about the senses. It's about seeing, hearing, feeling, sensing, touching, smelling, knowing. This is why I say to people, if, because I always try and help people to do it themselves as well when you're, getting that connection with spirit. So have a practice, practice with people, practice with family, practice with friends. Obviously protect yourself beforehand, but, write down, what do you see? What do you hear? What do you feel? What do you sense? What do you touch? What do you smell? What do you know? Write it all down. Before you know it, you're writing more, and then relay it to them and say, look, does this mean anything? And they'll be like, well, yes, that does. And then before you know it, you're getting that connection, and then obviously building on it from there. But again, at the end of it, I came to Michael to take away any energy that doesn't belong to me, my family, or my home. But you can call on the higher power, whatever resonates or suits you. But this is where, pushing that, always trying to push yourself to try and get that connection. Because there is nothing to fear with spirit. We're always in control, but you just basically tell them to back off. And that's why, again, reiterating here, Jason, never under the influence of drugs or alcohol connect with spirit. Right. Because obviously it leaves you vulnerable, if that makes sense.
John in the chat room brought up, Rob, you should tell your story about your friend who died.
Yeah. Well, there's a few of them, but I think the one he's talking about it was a long time ago, but yeah, I'd come home one night and, it was kind of one evening, whatever, but I come home and, when I walked in, my house had a big back porch and it had big pane, glass windows on the back. And, when I came in, I looked, through the living room out the back porch, and my friend's standing out back, in the backyard, and he just kind of waves to me and smiles. And I'm thinking, what the hell is he doing in the backyard, And it was not ghostly. It looked like a person standing there.
Physical person. Yep.
Yeah.
And that is real.
Yeah. And, I went out, I looked all around the house. I'm like, where did he go? This is weird, and I just figured, he's just messing with me, whatever, he'll come back. And I don't know, hour or so later, I get a phone call, and it was another friend of mine telling me that two of my friends had been hit by a drunk driver on the bridge, knocked over, and they were both dead. And it was one of the
and
that was
him saying goodbye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that story.
That was their way of saying goodbye. And that's amazing, isn't it? Because that was their way of saying goodbye, and then you being receptive and being open. This is why I say we're all, I don't ever look at myself as gifted, because we're all spirit in a human body. We can all do this. And isn't that so beautiful? They've come to you to say goodbye, and then obviously you get that validation. And that's what it's about, isn't it, as well? When there's no coincidence. You've seen them. They've come to you. They've come, they're solid, and they've said goodbye. And you can see they're out of the body and they're solid. So I always say to people, anybody that's in trauma, like a vehicle accident, or they've been murdered, or they passed to suicide, any of these, obviously everybody passing over, it's traumatic. Yeah. Sometimes people's passing could be a bit more traumatic. But when they're coming out of that body, as you've seen them solid, they're out of that body. There is no pain. There is no trauma. Right. And that is immediate. That is. And again, it's like when we go back to my sister, when I seen her come out of her body 2 days before she even passed, it's again showing us that, we're already dipping in and out. Yeah. So that's why I always say to people, if your loved one passed to suicide or they were murdered, I need to reassure you that their spirit was already dipping in and out, so they didn't feel anything, and it was just happening to that physical body. It's almost like getting out of a car, isn't it? And that's your body.
We've had a number of guests on that are near-death survivors, and one of the things I always focus on in their experience, and it seems to be everyone, is when they have this horrible accident or whatever that happens that caused their near-death experience, they seem to be taken out of their body the moment before it happens. That's their memory.
Yes, 100%. And that is
so reassuring, I think, to so many. The question of those who've lost people in horrendous accidents, that they, oh my God, did they suffer, or the pain? And when you hear near-death experiences tell you, I was pulled out of my body and I watched my body go through the accident, but I didn't feel anything. This is why I do the show. People need to hear this.
100%. They do need to, and they need to understand that their loved one, regardless of how they pass, and again, people do pass in very traumatic ways, that they didn't feel a thing. It's like when my sister was lying there unconscious in ICU, she came to me and I seen her, and that was just her way of saying, look, Siobhan, look what I can do, but this is what we can all do. Again, my sister wasn't special, but she was just showing me and allowing me to see this and helping me to understand. So again, allowing people to understand, if your child did pass to suicide, because I work so much with grieving parents. I do work with everybody, not just grieving parents, but, if their child passed to suicide and they've gone a traumatic way or been murdered, things like that, just knowing that that they were absolutely fine. They didn't feel a thing. Their body, their body was there, but their spirit was dipping in and out. And they're out of that body and free of trauma. It's like my gran comes to see me, but she'll always show herself to me as being 30, 40 years old, because she doesn't want to be known as the older lady in the chair, because she was so active in life, So when she comes to me, it's like, hi, I'm here. But she wants to show me her able-bodied self, because she was a mental health nurse and she was looking after her 6 children, and she looked after her own dad in a wheelchair to the end. And she was a very busy lady, always helping others and everything. So doesn't want to be remembered with the legs that couldn't work. So that's why she comes that way. So again, reassuring everybody, whatever your loved one did have, and however their body was affected, they're out of that body free of trauma, and they're absolutely perfect, if that makes sense.
Totally makes sense. We got to go. I was to say we got to go to commercial break. We're going to run behind here. I'll get to you, Jamie, when we come back. Thank you to David for the $20 donation super chat. Thank you. But we got to go to commercial break. When we come back, we'll talk more with Siobhan Smith. I'm going to butcher it. When we come back, and one of the two of the phone lines are open. You can call in. I think the Skype ID OOJBland00, right? Yes, that Skype ID is open, and the 219-230-4444 hopefully will be open. Sometimes I have issues with that. If you do want to call in, no readings, but if you want a question for our guest night, please call in, or if we'll try to get to it in the chat room if you got one in the chat room. Jamie, remind me when we get back. I'll get to what you were going to get to. Okay. All right, guys. We'll be right back with a short commercial break.
Intercepted transmission of unknown origin.
Transmission? Out here?
SOS.
Human.
Unknown.
Alien. Certificate X. Exclusive engagement at the Odeon Leicester Square. Now.
Any systematized transmission indicating a possible intelligent origin must be investigated. I don't want to hear all this.
In space, no one can hear you scream.
If you are interested in discovering the truth about the paranormal and want to hear from leading researchers in the field, join Justin Brown on his 3 weekly shows named My Paranormal Soapbox, Necromancer Live Show, and the Supernatural Symposium, live on Facebook, YouTube, and InterfaceDeath.net.
This is an APAC studio presentation.
Hi, I'm Barry, owner-operator of Barry's Barometer Barn. Lately, I bet you've been lying awake at night asking yourself, how many barometers do I really need? Well, at Barry's Barometer Barn, we think you need more than one. Otherwise, we're gonna go out of business. Remember, at Barry's Barometer Barn, we don't know the meaning of high-pressure sales. Come on, folks, buy another barometer. I'm trying to put my kids through college, I've got a family to support, and a secret mistress who isn't cheap.
Visit Barry's Barometer Barn, 000 Storm Drive. Come on, folks, buy a barometer. I'm Barry's older brother, Larry, and every time one of you people walk past the store without coming in, Barry beats me.
This has been a presentation from Tim Morgan's APAC Studio. For more almost professional amateur comic studio content, visit the APAC YouTube channel. Search APAC 2002. That's APAC 2002 on YouTube.
When Alex Gardner is asleep, he has an extraordinary gift. The government wants it, the scientists want it, but to keep it may cost him his life. It might be better if Alex didn't sleep at all, but he cannot resist entering the dreamscape. Can you? See Dreamscape in the West End and all over London now. Certificate 15. It takes an extraordinary adventurer to enter the dreamscape.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from Talkstream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Join us every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time for Weird Wednesday, the live stream, with your hosts Jamie, the Living Dead Girl, and Rob, the Phantom, where we'll talk about all things paranormal, including zodiac, astrology, tarot card and oracle card readings, live ghost boxing and spirit communication, where we'll do voices from beyond the cold case files. So we hope you join us live on Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time. We hope to see you there. Bye-bye.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Heat 'em up.
Do, re, be gone.
Tonight, our guest joining us for the second half of the show is Siobhan Smith. She is a medium. I'm totally enjoying this conversation. This is exactly why I do this show. I have a lot of favorite topics: time travel, ghosts, UFOs. Definitely up there on the list is talking about our connection with spirit and the afterlife. When you see somebody who reaches towards the end of their life be afraid of what waits them on the other side, it makes me sad. I want more people to wake up to the idea you don't have to be afraid of it. And I do still, as I say that, I fear things happening to my children or being separated from my children, even though in my heart, I know we'll always be together in some way in spirit. We've been together before. So I know it's hard. I've had a lot of experiences in life. I lost a childhood friend when I was just, a kid to a car accident. I watched how her parents grieved so hard. They never moved her bike from outside their house. They left her room the same way it was. And I saw her spirit. I was just a kid. I was in kindergarten. And I remember playing inside my cardboard fort I'd made, and I had these nightmares the night before of her horrible car accident, and had horrible visions of my child imagination of how bad it was for her. And she appeared to me. And I think that was her to show me then, as a child, that she was fine. I believe in spirit. I wish that spirit of that child appeared to her parents. I don't know if she ever did, and I hope and pray that somehow they finally came to a resolution or they were able to make that connection. But you don't need a medium. I think Siobhan would agree with this. You don't need a medium to make these connections. The spirits are always around you, and that's why I truly am enjoying her as a guest tonight in this conversation. So let's go ahead and get back into it for this last half hour. You still there with me, Siobhan?
I'm still here. Jason. Lovely to talk to you again.
Real quick, Jamie, what did you have?
Oh, I was going to mention when Rob was telling his story that when my grandpa had passed away, he was drinking and had fallen down some stairs. He was in a coma, had EMT all around him. My mom received a phone call. It was really staticky, and it was my grandpa. Kept saying, Ann, trying to talk to her, staticked out. So she's thinking, what happened? She calls back. The paramedics answer the phone, and they said, there's been an accident. He's in a coma. And she's like, well, that's impossible. I just talked to him.
Wow.
And they said, no, he's, long story short, he's been out here for about 45 minutes in a coma. And they were very, very close. Our family meant everything to him. He was an adopted grandpa.
Yeah.
Wow. This is the thing, isn't it, as well, with our loved ones, how they always are trying to reach us, and just having that openness and being aware. And that's why it's great with you both, with all of you doing this show, and really helping people to understand that they can communicate to us and reach us in so many different ways, not just as them being solid, but also through the communication of hearing as well, if that makes sense. This is why I will say to people, sometimes your sense may be visual, so you may see them or get that in your mind, or outside of your mind, or you may hear in your head, or you may hear outside of your head. Because with spirit, it's always so many different ways, isn't it? Seeing, hearing, feeling, sensing, touching, smelling, knowing. It's like we were talking earlier, right at the beginning, when you were mentioning there, Jason, about that smelling of weed and things like that, and people getting them smells. I can have this, and I'm bringing through spirits if they have smoked. Because sometimes in America, in certain states, it's legal. So I'll have the spirit, and then they'll blow it, the weed smell, in my face.
Get a contact guy.
So I'll be like saying,
hey, nice perk for the job.
Reaching you. And I say to people, if you're not doing it in your house and you do smell that smell, then that's their way of saying, look, it's me, and I know what it smells like, because years ago when I worked in a nightclub when I was a student, there was people in a certain corner that would do that sort of thing back there. Obviously it's illegal in the UK, but when I worked in this nightclub, they would carry on and do that, because obviously, people do them things, and I know the smell, it's so distinctive. So yeah, absolutely, they can communicate in so many different ways, spirit.
I agree.
So again, it's lovely, with Jamie and what's been said here, because again, another example of, look, this is how I'm reaching out. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh, what I find fascinating about your experience, Jamie, your mom's experience, is, one of the books I show in the commercial reel, is a book by Jimmy Pettinito, and I forgot the other author. I'm sorry. He's on my friends list. I totally forgot his name at the moment. Is Messages, whatever. It's all about electronic messages, the way that spirits manipulate electronic devices to try to communicate.
Yeah.
And we do, once in a while on this show, live spirit box night, and we don't try to communicate with celebrities on the other side or anything. My purpose from the moment I started it was to have phone lines or the audience to call in and ask for a loved one to come through. Now Zach calls in, he always asks for a celebrity, but that's just Zach. But that's one of the things I love about doing it, is giving people a chance to see if we get that kind of communication. Can the spirit manipulate it? And we've had some amazing evidence and experience with that.
And absolutely, and this is the thing, isn't it? And again, this is about you coming back into that body as a teacher soul, and helping to show others, that this is real, and what a great way to do that, and allowing people from all over the world to hear your experiences and what you're doing live. Do you know what I mean? So that's absolutely fantastic. And again, this is with spirit, isn't it? So many different ways. That's why I always say to people, when you work with spirit, it's not like they're stood there solid and their mouth's going 10 to the dozen. It's like a hot, it's a seeing, it's a hearing, a feeling, a sensing, a touching, a smelling, a knowing. This is why a lot of people are getting that communication themselves, but they brush it off and they think, oh no, it's just my imagination, And that's where we go back to, okay, come on, let's ask them then. Make sure you ask your loved one for them 3 signs, so it helps to validate, because then it's not just a coincidence, if that makes sense.
Oh, I don't believe in coincidences, and I get so many signs so often. Everything just lines up so perfect that I feel I just have no doubt in my mind when the certain family members are around me. I just know it.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Definitely. And that's real. That's a knowing as well, isn't it? That feeling and knowing, that's real.
I always wonder how frustrating it is for the spirits when they get whatever energy they got to must up to do to give a sign, and the person like, oh, it's nothing, and it's just a coincidence, and they write it off. How frustrating that must be for the spirits. Again, go check out BBC. Go check out BBC's Ghosts. I love this TV show.
True. The spirits stood there, stamping their feet, thinking, "Come on, you idiot, wake up! Look at what I'm doing." Oh
and
my
meanwhile,
God! Like
they think that they're not listening.
Sorry.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, they think
so
that they're not. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny, isn't it? Because when I work with people, I always say to them, when I'm working with different people, they will tell me how they're trying to communicate, and sometimes they will reach them when they're half in and half out of sleep, because not again being a horror movie, but because they're easier and more receptive, if that makes sense. But the amount of spirits, that will be blowing on their face or poking their nose or doing different things or sitting on the bed at the end of the bed, so many different ways. I've even got into the bed and been a bit physical as well. If someone's lost their husband or their boyfriend or their girlfriend, their wife, these are also ways as well that they can reach us on that loving level, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, I don't know if you ever watched Celebrity Ghost Stories. What was the rock star that he lost his child, and literally he had like such an amazing experience. Again, as a parent, it's my worst fear. Even with what I understand and know, it's still hard, and you've been through this. What was the rock star's name? I can't remember. But like his daughter came and he drew with her and he talked to her, and he had like a whole, and of course he was drunk. He admitted it. I mean, he was in a horrible state, but he believes he had experience. I believe he had this experience.
Definitely, 100%.
And and like I said, when I was young, I had lost a kindergarten friend. I lived next door to me, and I'm
just, sorry.
It's but my sorry was for the parents. I just remember as the couple years went by that I still lived in that neighborhood. The parents never moved her bike, never changed her bedroom, and I just and seeing her myself, it affected me. A lot of weird things have happened to me, and that's one of them that affected me. At the time I was scared, but as I look back at it, I feel like she was trying to show me I'm here, I'm fine, because I was having nightmares as a child about her car accident, because kids were talking and the car was on fire and then she burned to death, so I had these horrible nightmares, and it was just awful. It was an awful feeling, and then she came to me, and I sadly I was scared of it. I was just a kid, but I think it was her trying to tell me, and all I think was not like she came to me. I hope she came to her parents. I hope.
Absolutely.
I pray.
I think what it is, though, as well, because you're sort of away from the situation, because I explain to people, it's not that your loved ones are not coming to you, because it's also happened to me. Obviously, having my loved ones pass, I was very consumed, overwhelmed with my grief. So sometimes I wasn't getting that connection. So I explain to people what's happening there is because you're so overwhelmed, because you're so consumed with your grief, they are trying to reach you, but sometimes we can put a wall up and we don't realise it. And they explain to me, look, you did put a bit of a wall. So I always say to people, if you are struggling and you aren't getting any signs of connection, every day before you get out of the bed, just say to your loved ones, look, I am aware that I'm obviously struggling with these connections and these signs. Please, can you help to break down my wall to allow me to be a bit more open to you? Because that does work as well. Because obviously sometimes when we can be so consumed by our grief, because obviously that was their child, so it would be so raw for them, with all that emotion and that grief, that their child would be coming to them. It's just they're not seeing it because they're so overwhelmed, if that makes sense. So always trying to speak to spirit and ask them to break down that wall to help you to see more clearer, if that makes sense,
Oh yeah, no, it totally does. And people, when it comes to death, it's hard for people. The worst thing for somebody who's in that grief situation is nobody knows what to say to you. No, there's nothing anybody can say to you that's going to make it better.
No.
And people know that deep down, and they actually, now this person becomes isolated because people actually stay away from you because they don't know what to say to you. And now you're even more alone. It's sad, and maybe if we lived in a much more spiritual, not a religious dogma world, but a spiritual world where we accepted these beliefs, and we wouldn't have so much suffering in this area. It doesn't mean people wouldn't still suffer, but have an easier time.
It'd be so much better, wouldn't it? Because obviously people like us that are open to spirit, that are getting this connection, people will run us down or attack us, or even in this era, even in this day and age now. I mean, obviously I was raised with Irish Catholic family. I don't follow my religion anymore. And obviously we all respect people that do, but obviously we understand that we are spirit and human body. We are all one. And I always say, if everybody knew this, then the world would be a much better place, because we wouldn't have all this hate. We wouldn't be hating people, because we'd realise that, we've all lived many lifetimes.
I think that's
we've all
another
been
part of
male,
it.
we've all been female,
Yeah, well, I that's another thing I've talked about so many times, is if we could accept the idea that we've been here before, that we've lived other lives, we've been other people. I had, people probably get tired of hearing my stories, but I won't get into it. But I had two very vivid visions of past lives. One, I was a little black girl, and I was beaten to death by my white slave owner father.
Oh, God bless you.
And, part of me inside, in that dream, and maybe analyzing over the years, but even in that dream, knew that was my real biological father who ran out on me.
Absolutely. And this is the thing. This is not your imagination. It's like when I was a child, I knew my sister was my mother in my past life, because I always used to go on about it. I knew my parents. I've never felt a connection with them in that way. And I always knew that my sister was my mum in my past life. I know in my past life I was a suffragette. I know I was a witch. And I know I go back to the Viking era. This is the thing. When you get that, because my sister used to do past life regression, and I do touch on past lives in readings, and I do work with people, and I do a past life. I don't do it as a full regression like other people, where they get hypnotized but I speak directly to spirit and I go through and help people with that area. But when you feel that resonating with what you're feeling, that's your soul remembering. So that is real. So when you were feeling, you know, that you go back to that slavery, that is your soul. That's you remembering. This is why I always say to people, we were all white, we were all black, you know, we were all male, we
How
were
would
all
it change
female.
the world if
We're
we
not.
accepted that concept?
Yeah, because this is the thing, and you know, you don't associate with a country. You know, obviously, I'm born in England. My whole family are Irish, so I already feel like I don't belong here. I don't belong in Ireland, but I know that I don't belong anywhere because we're all spirit and human body, and we've lived in different countries. You know, and this is where if people would understand that, then we would get on, and the world would be, you know, there'd be so much less hate, and it would be so much better. Because people would understand, but I don't think we're meant to. That's the problem. You know, we do come here. We come here to learn. We come here to grow. You know, it's like we wouldn't be having this conversation. We wouldn't be talking. We wouldn't be doing this now had we not gone through our own experiences, if that makes sense, you know?
Well, I always felt like it's
Because
an imperfection in the Matrix or something that people are cut off from their memory of the past. Like, I understand the concept that you have to start afresh and new and let go of those things. But like when I had the dream of the little girl was one thing. The other one, I was a monk, I think a Buddhist monk. And long story short, I had discovered my teacher was doing opium. I turned him in to the authorities, and the authorities ended up killing him and everybody in the temple and myself. Wow. That's the very, very short of it. It was very emotional, impactful, real, physical dream. I woke up, my screaming and heart beating felt like I'd been shot in the chest. But explain my anti-religion stance from the moment I could understand that there was religion. And, you know, like I'm spiritual, but I don't ever see myself prescribing to religion. I don't trust people who say they know, you know, like
I totally
leaders.
agree.
You know, I'm wired that way, and I think it's from my past life.
100%, absolutely agree with you. And you know, this is where you know, I don't follow my religion anymore. And obviously we do respect people that do, and they have their belief and everything else, but we know. And I think what it is as well is us going back, isn't it? Living them many past lives, we bring that back. Each time we're bringing that back here. And this is why now, again, you doing what you're doing, me doing what I'm doing. You know, we're trying to teach and help other people to understand that we are all one, that we are all spirit and human body. Yes, we do live many lifetimes. We don't just die and become spirit. We were spirit. We come into this body. And this is where, you know, obviously respectful of religion, but the reality is, you know, we are all spirit, you know, and that's the thing. So I bring through Hindus, Muslims, Catholics, you know, all sorts of different religions when they were in the body. But obviously realizing now that when they come out of that body, you know, that we're all there together. We're all one, if that makes sense, you know. And people often wonder as well, as we go on to this subject, about this sort of heaven and hell.
Yeah.
That doesn't exist like that. You know, what I've learned, and I can go by my experience now, just to put it in a nutshell as quickly as I can, I will bring through paedophiles, which obviously I don't want to talk to, don't like the darker energy. But let me just explain very quickly. What happens is if they've got remorse, that's when they're able to get through my loved ones and be able to speak to me. And the only reason why I allow them is because, say, if someone's had the trauma of that, you know, I have been sexually molested, I've been violently raped as well. Right. So I understand. So sometimes, you know, you will need that apology because you haven't had it in life. So for them to get through to talk to me, it's because they have remorse. So then I'm able to help people that have had this happen to them, say 40, 50, 60 years ago, and I'm able to say, look, they are coming through, they do want to apologise, and I tell them to leave. Because what happens when they come through, they're usually on their knees begging for forgiveness. Yeah. Because what happens is when we pass over, they get to see it and feel it through our eyes. So when they've done what they've done, right, it's like they are living on in that hell-like state of consciousness because they created it with their behavior. So there's no sort of like heaven and hell as such. It's more like a behavior. So you create your own afterlife. So the majority of people go to that sort of heaven-like state of consciousness because they're good people. Does that make sense?
I'm a big fan of What Dreams May Come, one of my favorite movies, and it kind of paints that picture in a sense. Yeah. You know, because the guy, you know, Robin Williams' wife in the movie, you know, commits suicide. People are like, oh, suicides go to hell. Well, she isn't like a hell, but she gets out of it because it's a hell of her own creation. You know what I'm saying? Like she escapes it because she's not really in hell. She's learning from the mistake she made.
This is the thing. And let me explain with suicide, because obviously being raised Catholic, I understand how they speak about that. But because I work so much with people that do pass to suicide, if your loved one has passed to suicide, they don't go to hell. That doesn't exist. You know, they're not in purgatory or anything like that. And, you know, I know that there's some mediums out there that say that they go to holding place and all of this as well. That's complete rubbish. Regardless of how we pass, it doesn't matter whether it's suicide, murder, whether it's a natural cause, you know, however we pass over to spirit, our loved ones do meet us and we're met in love. We're not over there in trauma. We're out of the body. I always say to people, and having gone through depression years ago myself, and obviously had gone through and gone to that point, I need to reiterate so clearly, just because you have an issue with your heart and you pass over that way doesn't mean that you're a better person than the person that has an issue with the brain and passes over to suicide. So regardless of what way you pass, the brain is an organ. So if that brain is affected and they pass over that way, just because it's misunderstood, you know, we know so much about the heart, the lungs and things like that. We still don't understand about the brain. So people need to understand and get the message clear today, regardless of how you pass over, suicide, murder, you know, any natural cause, whatever way you go, your loved ones will meet you. You are out of that body and you are free of trauma. There's no depression. You're not, you know, any of the depressive thoughts, anything that went on here in that body, that has gone as well. So you don't go to holding place. There is no, you're not having to recover or get over things or anything like that. You are met in that love. And the reason why I know this is because I've been communicating with spirit for over 40 years, working so much with people that come through that have passed to suicide. They're not depressed. They're not in a bad state. You know, they come through with so much love. They're happy. They're laughing. They're smiling. But when you've done wrong, massive difference. You know, like people like Hitler, paedophiles, they're evil. They will relive what they've done until they have remorse. And that is then, you know, when they can start working on being the better soul that they need to become, if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I mean, I said early on the show when we were covering the World Wide Web weird about the Francois that I totally butchered. It was a serial killer who was a cop who ends up killing himself because his DNA was going to be taken by the police. They were onto him. So he killed himself, admitted his sins in his suicide note. And I said, you know, he murdered children. And part of me, I know it's not the enlightened statement, but there is a part of me that does hope there is some kind of hell for him or some kind of...
Absolutely.
You know, I can't help that feeling.
Jason, what happens? That's why when these paedophiles come and they're on their knees begging for forgiveness, they're reliving it. They relive it. They get to see it and feel it through their victim's eyes. So everything that they did, they will see it and feel it through the victim's eyes, the family's eyes. And I know this because I work so much with people, you know, that have done this, you know. And again, I only allow them to come forward to apologise so I can pass that on to the person that I'm reading, my sitter, so that they get that apology, because then that's the beginning of hopefully some kind of healing, if that makes sense. So it's not like I'm making this up, because I actually see them. I can see how distraught they are, and so they should be, because of the evil that they've done, if that makes sense, you know. So there is that, you know, that karmic law, you know, that there has to be, you know, that, you know, what is it, you know, that you know, when it's almost like the yin and the yang, there has to be that balance. What you've done here, you know, you'll reap them consequences over there, but this is where then they have to work it through, and then they have to obviously have that remorse. But yes, they definitely do see it and feel it through the victim's eyes. So yes, there is karma, if that makes sense.
It does to me, because when they're on Earth, that these people generally don't have empathy. They don't feel for others. They don't. They're, you know, if you've met somebody,
they're void
of
it.
Yeah, it's like avoided, like they're almost empty of a soul. Not to say that 100%. They are, but that's the feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. 100% void of it. And that's the thing, isn't it? So that's why, regardless of whether they get caught here, whatever they go through, you know, I always say to people, they get caught and they go to prison, jail, whatever else, that's going to be like bliss, heaven, really, compared to what's going to come, because obviously of what they've done with the paedophilia, you know, and you've affected that little child, you know, and, you know, they reap the consequences, you know, over there. And that's why on my page on Grieving Souls Unite, you know, I'm always trying to help people as much as I can on Facebook, Instagram, and helping them to sort of understand and, you know, learn through, you know, my posts, or, you know, with the work that I do, and obviously with the work that you do, Jason. You know, each time you're doing this and talking about these different topics, being a teacher soul, you're helping to, you know, reach out to them people, aren't you? Helping them understand.
Yeah, and they're helping me understand. Like I always say, everybody that calls in with their experiences on any of the realms of the subjects we cover, their personal experiences, I always say they're pieces of the puzzle for all of us to understand this great mystery of life that so many people take for granted.
Absolutely, and that's why when I do my readings, it's healing for me, because when I'm working with spirits, I'm learning from them, and I'm working with my sitter. You know, this is the thing, it's a collective whole, isn't it? We're all walking each other back to the spirit world, and we're all learning. You know, me talking to you today, I'm listening and learning from you, you're learning from me.
Exactly.
When I'm doing my readings, I'm learning from spirit. So you're absolutely right, we never know everything. You know, I'm learning something new every day, and that's why I always say to people, don't wait until you think you know it all and then do readings. You know, like with you, Jason, go back to that. Don't feel like you need the tarot. You know, go back and just keep it simple. And, you know, just write down, what do you see, hear, feel, sense, touch, smell, know, but always protect, always close down. And I think so many people will be shocked and surprised with, you know, how much they do pick up on, if that makes sense, you know?
It does. It does. When I do my Jason Psychic Mundane readings, a lot of the information I get, I get a starter from the cards, but then I go off, you know, off away from the cards. It's like a starter, a connection, and then I go off and I've said things that had nothing to do with what I see in the cards. It's something that came to me, you know? And so I totally believe that.
And that's the thing, having it as a tool, you know, the tarot, I Ching, whatever it is that you want to use, it's almost like a focus point, and then allowing you to then elaborate on that. Because again, like I say, we're all spirit and human body. So yes, we can all do this. And it's just allowing and trusting. You know, I always say to people, allow yourself to be open. Don't overcomplicate it. Keep it as simple as you can. And, you know, you could be sitting there eating a donut, having a cup of tea, having a cup of coffee, you know, and you're sensing spirit. And that's when you turn around and say, if this is really you, give me 3 signs, and then build from that, you know, get more communication, you know.
Keep mentioning donuts. Now I want a donut.
I know, I keep going like these donuts.
I don't need a donut this late at night. But it's morning for you. It's morning for you, so that's why you keep mentioning donuts.
I can have a donut, can't I?
Before we run out of time, well, go ahead.
Yes.
Go ahead.
No, you carry on.
Oh no,
I was just saying.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just saying. That's why I say always keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate. Don't feel like you've got to go and have a mediumship course. Don't feel like you've got to meditate for 5 hours standing on your head chanting Om and all of that. Just keep it simple. Sit there, eat your donut, have your cup of coffee, and allow that feeling of when you feel like you're being watched. No doubt you are, but build on it by saying to them, look, give me them 3 signs so I know it's you, Granddad, or I know it's you, Mum, or whoever it is, you know, your loved one, and just build on that communication together, if that makes sense.
That's awesome. No, I was going to say, before we run out of time, I want you to get your information out there where people can find you, connect with you.
Yes, so obviously my Grieving Souls Unite. I'm on Facebook, Grieving Souls Unite on Instagram. You can also email me on my email. So that's SIOBHAN, Siobhan _Smith at btinternet.com, or find me on my page as well, Siobhan Smith, SIOBHAN, Siobhan Smith Facebook page. And my Grieving Souls Unite logo is my profile picture. But yeah, definitely come along and join, because I hand out free readings on my Grieving Souls Unite. I hand out many off readings on my Grieving Souls Unite on Facebook and Instagram. So come along, follow, you know, and maybe you that gets that. And I will be doing free Zoom events again very soon, where people jump on and ask questions for free as well. All right.
That is awesome. Again, it was a true honor to have you on the show. I'd love to have you back on again. I know it's
absolutely
early in the morning for you across the pond, so I am honored that you did join us tonight, and thank you so much.
And I'm honored and grateful. Thank you all so much as well.
All right, guys, that is it for the show. We hung on. We hung on as long. We made it through. That's all I can say. We made it through with the 5-year-old. He seems a bit warm still up there. I will be checking on him, but his temperature last time I checked was 99, so we're good. Thankfully. Yeah, he seems like he's doing better, thankfully. No school for him tomorrow, though.
No school for him. I'm definitely going to be keeping you on in my healing prayers as well.
Thank you so much, Siobhan. All right, guys. Next week, we're going to have M.R. Gorga, if I'm pronouncing that right. He's the author of Demons Among Us, Shocking Real Life Stories of the Paranormal. He's got a very scary book cover. Well, it'll be his first time on the show next week. Same bad time, same bad channel. 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. Central, 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. 11 p.m. Pacific time. Thank you to all who will share out the show and tell your friends about Paranormal Soup, an open place where we can all come together, discuss our experiences, an open forum that does not judge you for your experiences. We're here to share and put the mystery together about life and reality. We are more than this crude matter that we think you were made of. Don't forget to check us out on Patreon if you can. $2 a month does help support the show. Thank you to everybody that made the Super Chat donations tonight. John, David, thank you guys. You're awesome. All right, guys. Next week, we'll see you then. Have a great night.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Siobhan.